Pay attention. I'm just a nobody streamer that no one cares about. Then one day, a massive explosion shook the world and everything turned into a nightmare. I had just stepped outside to see what was going on when I spotted a woman sprinting past in a total panic. Then out of nowhere, live stream chat comments appeared right before my eyes, roasting me for standing there like an idiot. What the? A chat room? Why is this appearing right in front of me? Have I gone completely insane from streaming too much? Before I could think it through, a zombie suddenly appeared right in front of me. No time to worry about the chat roasting me. I kicked the zombie away with everything I had. And then it was a full-on sprint for my life. Still in shock, I was about to hit the elevator button when the zombie smashed through the window. Without a second thought, I bolted up the stairs, the zombie hot on my heels. I could see my apartment door, but the zombie was closing in too fast. I needed to create some distance. With no other choice, I led it all the way up to the rooftop and frantically shoved at the door. It took the chat reminding me that it was a pull door, not a push. I threw my weight against the door and gasped for breath. This should buy me a little time at least. So that explosion earlier was because of zombies? None of this is remotely funny. And then there's that chat room thing. The priority right now is dealing with that zombie on the stairwell, and I definitely can't go in empty-handed. Just as I started searching the rooftop for anything I could use as a weapon, I turned around, another zombie, and of all people, it was my landlord. Are you kidding me? What is he even doing up here? Caught off guard, I tripped over a box and hit the ground. The fat landlord lunged right on top of me, and the chat was already writing me off as dead. In that desperate moment, I spotted the railing nearby and came up with a plan. I kicked the landlord off me with everything I had, and then sidestepped the instant he lunged. The momentum carried him straight over the edge. The chat was going crazy, calling me the luckiest guy alive. No time to catch my breath. Something was banging at the door. 3 zombies were about to bust it open. I was sweating bullets with no idea what to do. Then I remembered the chat mentioning something about a supply crate. No time to hesitate. I threw the crate open, and a blinding light burst out. A baseball bat. Right then, the 3 zombies broke through the door. I got into my stance, ignoring the chat's doubts. What they didn't know is that I'm literally an apocalypse game content creator. In my head, 3 zombies were nothing, total pushovers. Reality, however, had other plans. As a hardcore shut-in, I had 0 athletic ability. The zombies were closing in from both sides, and in a panic, I face-planted right into the ground. That pretty much confirmed I had no talent for swinging a bat, so I just snapped the bat in half, and when the moment was right, drove both halves straight into the zombies. 1 move, 3 kills, the zombies all dropped dead. After cleaning up the mess, I headed back inside, and the chat finally started giving me some credit. That's when I realized not only was my computer dead, but my phone was gone too, so I decided to head back to my parents' place. I hopped on my motorcycle and cut through a city that looked like a war zone. That's when something suddenly shot across the road and blocked my path. No way to stop in time. I wiped out completely, bike and all. The chat said it looked like a tongue. A tongue that big? That creeped me out enough to scramble to my feet and look. Standing before me was a terrifying hell frog. I didn't think there'd be monsters on top of zombies. This thing was an absolute beast. The hell frog launched its tongue like a spear, and I barely managed to dodge. I figured out that its tongue could only shoot out in a straight line, like a tape measure, and I slowly found the trick to avoiding it. As long as I kept cutting around corners, I had a better chance of staying out of reach. I also never expected that the improvised weapon I'd thrown together earlier would come in handy so soon. I quickly lured the frog into a corner. "Over here, you ugly thing." The hell frog charged at me full force, and I just barely got out of the way. I quickly lit the bottle of gasoline in my hand and hurled it straight at the hell frog. It wasn't a killing blow, but it did serious damage. It seemed like the inside of its mouth was where the real weak spot was. With that in mind, I pulled out my last Molotov. If I was going to finish this thing off, I had to go all in. So the moment the frog shot out its tongue, I threw the Molotov with everything I had. The hell frog's gaping mouth erupted in flames. It let out a hideous shriek and went still. The chat absolutely exploded. They said they'd never seen someone this fearless. They couldn't believe someone was already this strong this early in the game. They were loving it. Those comments hit me hard. To think that everything I've been fighting through is just a game. But dying is not an option for me. Just then, a blue notification box appeared telling me I'd unlocked my first skill. Looking closer, it was a skill that boosted my stamina by drawing enemies toward me. Each monster attracted increases stamina by 10%, and once the enemies are gone, 10% of the power gained becomes a permanent boost to the host's stamina. Sounds like a high-risk, high-reward skill, but honestly, it suits a game content creator like me just fine. But right now, the most urgent thing is making sure my family is safe. My bike was totaled, but I was close enough to walk. When I got there though, the place had been practically torn apart. "Dad, Mom, it's Cheon-su." I rushed inside shouting. No answer. Then I remembered my parents always left notes when they went somewhere. I dashed into the room and found a slip of paper. It said my parents had left with some soldiers, troops belonging to the 7.5 Division's direct unit. Something felt off. This note didn't sound like my parents at all. They would never just leave without waiting for me, and the wording felt too unnatural. If this really is a game world, then tracking down missing important characters would be a core part of the progression, so this could very well be a scripted event. In that case, panicking won't help. The only lead I have is the 7.5 Division. At least my parents left me some canned squid. The chat watched me raid the kitchen and called me heartless. Whatever, I'm eating first and worrying later. It's the only thing I can do right now anyway. Just then, a clanging noise came from outside. I steeled myself, grabbed a knife, and headed out. The moment I pushed the door open, a zombie grabbed my arm and yanked me forward. I jammed the knife in hard, and as it howled in pain, I wrenched my arm free. The skill bar popped up telling me attracting zombies was adding to my stamina. 10-minute time limit, this must be the skill panel. Alright then, let me see how many zombies I can draw in. I grabbed a small hammer and started going to town on zombie skulls. After a relentless pounding session, the zombies were left battered and broken. After taking down 7 zombies with a minute left to spare, the skill buff was still active. That's when I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. I looked closer, an actual living person, and just like that the guy started cooking for me. I'd been starving all day while fighting off monsters, so I wasn't about to turn that down. And right on cue, a steaming plate of food appeared. He explained he was a kitchen worker from Mingxi Tower, who'd gotten caught in the zombie outbreak while collecting dishes. I've been hiding here. Please don't make me leave. I can cook for you in exchange. I complimented his cooking. Not like I was leaving before finishing the meal anyway. He then mentioned there was a shelter set up at Mingxi Elementary, where his colleagues had gathered. He knew exactly where Mingxi Elementary was. I studied him for a moment. He was the first living person I'd encountered. In game terms, he was basically an NPC. So your name's Zhang Minju, right? Then let's head to Mingxi Elementary together. Then I remembered there was a bicycle at home. While I was packing, Minju volunteered to step outside and check things out. That's when a loud crash and a scream suddenly rang out. I shouted out Mingyu's name, and looked outside to find a big head monster about to devour him. The sheer size of the thing froze me in place. The chat was screaming at me to run. Yeah, obviously, I bolted, found the bicycle and pedaled like my life depended on it. But it didn't take long for the monster to notice me. Worse, this thing wasn't just massive, it was fast. As I tore down the street, I spotted the motorcycle Mingyu had mentioned. He ditched it when zombies attacked. Despite the chat's doubts, I ditched the bike and sprinted to the motorcycle. Sure enough, the keys were still in it. Once I got it started, I left those zombies eating my dust. Meanwhile, at the Mingxi Elementary shelter, officers were directing refugees inside. The owner of Mingxi Tower was frantic. We can't go in yet, Mingyu isn't here. He's gone. Please accept that and come inside now. What? How can you say that? He's worked with us for years. Just wait, he'll show up. Before the owner could finish, I came roaring up on the familiar motorcycle, and trailing behind me was one of the big head's severed fingers. Everyone watching was horrified. The restaurant owner immediately came up to me asking about Minju. What? He's dead? What are you talking about? I didn't bother explaining and went to find the person in charge of the shelter. Lee Seo-jun from the Traffic and Security Division stepped forward to greet me. You gave us quite a scare there. Is that corpse part of the big head? That thing already cost us several colleagues. We couldn't do anything but watch from a distance. By the way, what happened to the monster? I told him calmly that I'd taken care of it. That sent the crowd into an uproar. See, just a moment ago I'd made a bet with the chat. Could I take down the big head? My stake? My own life. The big head had been relentlessly chasing me, raising its massive foot to crush me flat. I was dodging while calling out to the chat. If I pull this off, you grant me one request, whatever it is. The chat laughed it off. They figured agreeing cost them nothing. Even only one, the one who brought me into this world, showed up and agreed. Hook, line, and sinker, I floored it straight toward the tunnel ahead. The big head reached out trying to squash me. At the last possible second, I shot into the tunnel. The dim-witted big head slammed headfirst into the tunnel entrance, cracking its skull open. To the chat's shock, it toppled straight backward. I had no intention of explaining any of this to the shelter officers. I just said I was a refugee looking for shelter. Still, the civilians all approved of me and welcomed me into the shelter. After a quick inspection, I was officially in. That's when the owner called out to me again from behind. Is Mingyu really gone? I'm the owner of the Chinese restaurant where Mingyu worked. I told him I had run into Mingyu on the way, but a monster had killed him before he could make it here. I didn't steal his motorcycle and run. Please don't worry about that. That mapo tofu he made for me, I'll never forget it as long as I live. Those words put the owner at ease and he broke down in tears. Just then, a system message came through. You have completed the game tutorial. The intelligence window is now available. Best of luck. Fight until the end and become the last survivor. That left me stunned. Everything up to now had just been the tutorial? That thought sent me straight to the chat. I want to hear from only one. Only one was the only viewer of my stream, and it was because of his actions that I ended up in this world. You made a deal, only one. You said if I took down the big head, you'd grant my request. You were once my only viewer. Now it's time you said something. The chat started buzzing. Wait, he was never given any explanation? How has he even survived this long? If you can clear this game, you'll be able to reshape the world however you want. Only one added. This world is the real world you actually live in, but it has been altered using our system, my exit. You are the only player in this game. We prefer watching a single player. You are the chosen one, the only person who is even aware of our existence. Everyone else around you is just an NPC, a supporting actor. We're no different from ordinary viewers, but if you fail to clear the game, this world will cease to exist. That made my blood run cold. Do gods actually exist? That's a hilarious question, the chat shot back. In any game you've ever played, do characters actually ask that? We hope you keep struggling hard in this game. I didn't push any further, I just opened the newly unlocked intelligence window. Protect the police chief of Mingxi Elementary. If the chief dies tonight, public order will collapse rapidly. No time to waste. I scanned the crowd of refugees, around 150 people, and somewhere among them was a threat to the police chief. So I went up and started talking to one of the officers. I'm here to see the police chief. The young officer fumbled. I'm not really at liberty to say. Suspicious. Something was definitely off about this place. It would really help if you told me. Could you contact the head of the Traffic and Security Division? After a phone call, the person on the other end asked if I was the one who'd been taking out monsters. Ah, I see. We've been looking for capable people to help. The police chief has gone missing. He went out and never came back. We're planning a search, but we're already stretched thin just protecting the refugees. We have maybe 30 officers left. I asked if I could take a look at the chief's temporary office. Inside the office, I spotted a map. One location had been specially marked, not far from here. Just as I was searching for clues, a figure appeared at the door. "I'm Police Commissioner Jin Kyung-ho. I heard about you. Apparently you took down a powerful monster on your own." I reached out my hand in response. Jin Kyung-ho grabbed it and suddenly squeezed with crushing force, like he was trying to break my hand. That's when a scream rang out from outside. There was an infected person in the crowd. The refugees instantly erupted into chaos. Even the chat was urging me to get out of there. I didn't flinch. I grabbed a hammer and slammed it into the zombie. Then I called out to the officers, "If you're too close to shoot, use your batons." Some civilians heard this and joined in, tackling zombies and beating them down. But most people stampeded toward the exits in a panic, and I realized the zombie had been let in deliberately. With the clues I had, one thing was clear. There were rogue officers in this school. So I pulled the restaurant owner aside and asked him to keep an eye out for suspicious behavior among the officers. Then, ignoring the officers' protests, I jumped on a scooter and got out of there. Based on the map I'd seen in the temporary office, there was only one place that mattered. It didn't take long before I arrived at the marked location. The room was empty, no sign of the police chief. But the footprints on the floor told me at least a dozen people had been here recently. While I was thinking about this, something else hit me. "Hey guys, why haven't any more supply crates shown up?" The chat laughed. Supply crates are paid content, but there are always kind souls. Following the chat's guidance, I unlocked the wallet feature. 2 sponsorship donations appeared immediately. "Guys, how could you hold back such critical information?" After a brief meltdown, I went into the room. Just as I was about to properly search for any sign of the chief, zombies started wailing right outside the window. When did they surround the place? So those footprints were from zombies after all. Think ganging up on me will work? I kicked one of them flying across the room, and then grabbed my hammer and started carving through the rest. But right in the middle of the carnage, a car came screaming straight toward us. "So you're the rogue cop from Mingzi Elementary. Show your true face." Jin Kyung-ho looked rattled. He couldn't believe I hadn't been killed by the impact. He can even handle zombies. Where the hell did this guy come from? Still thinking this, he floored the gas again, dead set on running me down. But with my stamina multiplied several times over, I latched onto the car window in an instant. While Jin Kyung-ho was still reeling, I smashed the window to pieces. Jin Kyung-ho unloaded on me in a rage, but my superhuman reflexes let me dodge every shot. But the distraction gave him the opening he needed. He floored it and threw me off. I wasn't about to let that slide. I chased him down. The rogue cop gritted his teeth and led me toward a cluster of large crates. Then he pulled out a remote and hit the switch. The crates burst open, releasing dozens of zombies. They swarmed me instantly. The chat was screaming at me to run. But as more monsters gathered, my physical abilities had already hit 5 times their normal level. I'll take every single one of them out in 2 minutes. My little hammer was unstoppable. The zombies didn't stand a chance. Still, there were too many. I decided to cut to the source and grab Jin Kyung-ho. Jin Kyung-ho, seemingly oblivious to how badly things were going, was still on a phone call. "Move the chief out of Mingxi Elementary immediately too." The next second I grabbed him by the collar. "Say that again. Where is the chief right now?" Jin Kyung-ho tried to reach for his gun, but I locked both his hands down. He screamed in panic. "Who the hell are you? Just a streamer who's loved by his viewers. No more talking." I kicked Jin Kyung-ho aside and slid into the driver's seat. Jin Kyung-ho, with his fingers broken, had already passed out. I floored it and mowed down every zombie standing in my way. Jin Kyung-ho's call confirmed it. The chief was still at Mingxi Elementary, exactly as the intelligence window had said. On my way back, I suddenly ran into a small teddy bear. No time to stop. I accidentally knocked it flying. I broke into a cold sweat. "Guys, that stuffed animal was walking, right?" Before I could finish, the creepy thing stood back up. I hadn't even processed what was happening when the teddy bear darted off to the side. Freaked out, I asked the chat, "What kind of monster was that?" Only one explained that it was a character that guides players to supply crate locations. The chat flagged that Jin Kyung-ho had woken up and was now playing dead. I grinned and pulled out my stun baton. After one gut-wrenching scream, the rogue cop was out cold again. Meanwhile, following the teddy bear led me straight to the second supply crate. 5 donations to open it. Seriously expensive. But judging by the shield symbol, it probably wasn't a weapon. Even so, I couldn't resist the chat egging me on. I opened it anyway. A flashlight. What a waste of donations. Better head back to the school and find the chief. Back at Mingxi Elementary, Division Head Lee Seo-jun was having a private conversation with one of the officers. Hearing that the chief was to be moved, his expression twisted. "Is this because of that guy? I thought he was just some ordinary person. I'll handle the situation with the chief. That's all for now." Every word of this was overheard by the restaurant owner, hiding nearby. Something is definitely wrong with these people. Just like Ko Cheon-su had said, those corrupt officers had completely lost their minds. Seeing how panicked he was, I appeared just in time to stop him. "What's the update on what I asked you to watch for? I saw you running up from the basement just now." The restaurant owner rushed to explain. The police chief and Lee Seo-jun were both in the basement, and the officers guarding the main hall were in on it too. With that information, I slipped down to the basement to assess the situation. Through the crack in the door, I could see the chief. Lee Seo-jun had beaten him badly. "Why don't we just make this easy and put you down for good, chief? Watching this, the chat chimed in. Land a spinning kick and I'll throw you a donation. Without a moment's hesitation, I launched a flying kick and sent Lee Seo-jun crashing across the room. He tried to raise his gun to fight back, but I had his wrist locked before he could. In a panic, he fired off round after round into nothing, until the magazine was completely empty. What came next was a one-sided beating. This one's for Mingyu, this one's for the police, chief, and this one is for running me ragged. After giving him a thorough beating, I ordered him to hand over the handcuff key for the chief. When I saw him reaching for the stun baton, I pulled out my own stun baton and gave him a little massage. Talk. Where's the key? Just then I heard footsteps approaching, so I hid just outside the door and waited. Division head, what was that gunfire? The officer didn't finish the sentence before I knocked him out cold. The chat was raving about my performance. Donations came pouring in. Lee Seo-jun had completely lost it watching this. He was absolutely terrified. You're this scared after one shot? How many rounds did you fire earlier? A little while later, I carried the chief out of the basement on my back. Inside the basement, the traitors who had tried to harm the chief were all tied up together. With the mission done, a weight lifted off my shoulders. I opened the intelligence window to check on things. Staying in one area for too long is dangerous. So after a comfortable rest and resupply, I started preparing to move on. The police chief stopped me and insisted on sending me off with some essentials. So I got into the vehicle the chief had arranged for me. I still had no idea what I was supposed to use that flashlight for. Just as I was shutting my eyes, ready to finally get some rest, a sudden chill crept through my entire body. I looked out the window to see a dark figure hovering in midair. It looked like a flying zombie. One look at its horrifying face and I floored the gas, speeding away in a panic. What was strange was that it suddenly vanished. What's going on? Can you actually escape it just by putting a little distance between you? The next second, the terrifying thing materialized right at my car window. The zombie appearing out of thin air sent me into a blind panic. In my terror, the car slammed into a utility pole. I had no choice but to get out and empty my handgun at it. Do I look like someone who came unprepared? Barely any effect. I had to run. The chat was in stitches. They said I was toast. The zombie appeared in front of me again. I grabbed the flashlight and shone it straight at its face. It actually worked. The zombie covered its face and stumbled backward. I seized the moment and leapt through a window, but the cool move lasted all of 2 seconds before I face-planted. I scrambled to get the flashlight and gun, alternating attacks on the zombie. Before long, the thing stood frozen, completely motionless. Watching the shadow it cast on the ground, everything clicked. So that's it. This is the limit of your attack range. Get out of here, you pathetic thing. I unloaded into it until there was nothing left. After that, I was so exhausted I collapsed straight backward. I genuinely thought I was about to die there. Just as I was about to rest, a light nearby began flickering. I got in a position and waited in ambush along the only path in. I swung my gun up and found it was just a student. Please don't shoot, I'm not dangerous. Are you alone? Good, hand over the flashlight. Once I had the flashlight, I told him to hand over his bag too. He started begging. That's just emergency rations in there, please don't take it. But under my pressure, he eventually handed it over. I have nothing left now. I only came to ask for your help. I didn't even flinch. I told him to take off his clothes too. Once I was satisfied he had nothing left, I made like I was leaving. Then I quietly told the chat to pay attention to the kid's reaction. The kid watched me make like I was walking away and completely fell apart. Do you know what I went through to get here? My friends all died for me. I'm a coward. All of this is my fault. I turned back at that. Then let's walk together, Yang Minchul. So in the escape that followed, we ran into a hellfrog and a big head that wouldn't let up. Under this kid Minchul's guidance, we managed to escape both. I'd figured he was useless, but it turned out he had a perfect memory of every route he'd ever traveled. We were about to get sandwiched between both monsters. On my signal, we both dodged the hellfrog's tongue at the same moment. The two monsters ended up squaring off against each other. We took the opening and ran. Not long after, we found a beat-up tandem bicycle. That's when Min Cheol asked if I knew anything about the 705 division. They took a friend of mine a few days ago, just left a note behind. The note said my friend had been taken by the 705 division. I think it's a military unit, but I'm not sure. Just as we were getting into it, a military vehicle crashed into the guardrail nearby. Inside was a living person, not a zombie. I pulled him out and learned his name was Jo Young-jin. Rank, private. Jo Young-jin drew a knife. I don't have anything. Just leave me alone. Which promptly got him kicked across the ground. I got straight to the point. Being out here alone, are you a deserter? No. Everyone else is dead. I was the only one left. I had to run, I swear. To verify his identity, I grabbed his badge and made him recite his military ID number from memory. He got every digit right before I let go, but he was still suspicious to me. Once I was satisfied, I prepared to leave him there and head inside with Min Cheol. Jo Young-jin pleaded desperately, I think my leg is broken, please don't leave me behind. The chat absolutely roasted me, called me cold-hearted. A little irritated, I told Min Cheol to bring him along. Inside, it was pitch black and completely silent. The power must have been out. After a while, I stepped out to check things out. I suddenly heard a phonograph playing inside a room. I hear Jeju Island is completely safe. I saw a train pass by. Move fast, word is the 705 division is headed to Jeju Island. Take the train to Daejeon first. That hit me like a lightning bolt. This was a rare lead. I immediately opened the intelligence window. Head to the train station to escape the city. Finally, the train station. The road ahead isn't going to be easy. I rushed back to the medical room, but there was no sign of Min Cheol. We heard something in the basement. Min Cheol went down to check. I muttered a curse and then went to search the storage room for a taxi key. Right as I was focused on searching, footsteps came pattering outside the door. It was Jo Young-jin. He'd fallen over. I couldn't take it. I hauled him back up. That's when unsettling footsteps echoed up from the basement. A sketchy middle-aged man had taken Min Cheol hostage. I drew my knife immediately. I don't know who you are, but let Min Cheol go. The man gave a dark smile. You mean the thief who broke into my business? I'm afraid I can't do that. Come to think of it, you're both thieves. I'm seriously short on drivers and it's been a headache. That gave me an idea. Boss, what are you talking about? I'm no thief. I'm here to apply as a taxi driver. Let me take passengers. I'm an excellent driver. Just give me a chance to interview, and I promise I'll be your best driver. The man started weighing it. He really was short on drivers. Then where's your application form? He said coolly. You need a form before I'll consider an interview. I'm a busy man, don't waste my time. I shot a look at Jo Young-jin. Go grab the most presentable application form from the office next door. Don't worry, my friend will have it over in no time. The man seemed genuinely pleased. You really are a fine young man. A moment later, Jo Young-jin returned with a resume. He'd picked one whose photo looked the most like me. One look and the middle-aged man was completely convinced. Min Cheol waited for the right moment and shoved him hard. I moved in immediately and pinned him down, while the other two searched him for the keys. Before long, we were all piled into the taxi. Destination, train station. It's all you, Young-jin. Just as the car started moving, something enormous came into view. That's a crawler beast? Jo Young-jin panicked and floored the gas, trying to shake the monster. But the crawler beast was clearly gaining on us. In that critical moment, I had an idea. I told Jo Young-jin to drive toward the main building. The middle-aged man was still screaming about us stealing his car, little knowing we'd just led a terrifying monster straight to his door. Jo Young-jin hit a sharp turn, and the crawler beast slammed straight into the building. Watching what I'd done, the chat piled on with criticism and disgust. But sometimes you do what you have to do. As the car kept moving, we crossed the boundary line the system had set, and I unlocked a new privilege. Viewers could now purchase various effects and wager the rewards from completed missions on the player. No time to dwell on that. The damn crawler beast was back on our tail. Jo Young-jin had the pedal floored, but there wasn't a single sign of the monster falling behind. I quickly asked Min Cheol if he knew this area's roads as well. Get on the uphill road over there, Min Cheol shouted. Once you go a little further up, there'll be a downhill stretch. What none of us expected was that the downhill road ended at a cliff. We were finished. With no options left, I desperately begged the chat to issue me a mission. There are always kind souls. A mission popped up almost immediately. Lean out the window and taunt the crawler beast. Reward: the vehicle will stay on course for 15 seconds no matter what. Without a second thought, I started hurling abuse at the crawler beast. A snail could outrun you, you ugly freak of nature. You'll never see our taillights. Stay back there and choke on our exhaust. Come on then, kill me if you can, you disgusting ugly monster. With the mission completion notification chiming in, Jo Young-jin threw the car into a drift, and it came to a perfect stop right at the cliff's edge. The infuriated crawler beast, blinded by rage, wasn't paying attention and went sailing off the cliff. Everyone let out a long sigh of relief. We were actually alive. Before long, we arrived at the train station. Strange. The place was completely deserted. Just then, 3 zombies appeared behind us. I told my companions to go ahead while I dealt with them. After countless battles, my abilities were nothing like they used to be. With barely a flick of my wrist, I took out every single zombie. Watching this, the chat was full of praise at how far I'd come. But it wasn't over yet. I turned to find a middle-aged man being swarmed by zombies. He kept calling out the name of Mayor Jung Chan-guk. Was this one of his men? I stepped in without hesitation, cut down the zombie in front of me. The man then explained that he had been abandoned by the mayor. We were on our way to the train station when we ran into a monster, so we decided to take a different route. But the mayor suddenly changed his mind, saying he'd go check things out himself, and never came back. He probably went to the train station too. There are a lot of guards there, so he should be hard to kill. I raised an eyebrow. Guards? His staff would go that far for him? The man explained that not all of them were staff. The ones he didn't recognize were likely outside personnel. That got me thinking. It sounds like the mayor is an important target for certain factions. Just as the two of us were about to head into the station, we spotted a strange figure. The man was about to say something, and I quickly covered his mouth. If that were a child, there's no way it would be alone in a place like this. The chat saw the monster and went wild, saying my luck was absolutely terrible. I whispered to the man not to make a sound. That thing was not human, but he couldn't keep it together. He watched the monster vanish into thin air, and screamed, turning to run. In an instant, the monster was right in front of him. After one blood-curdling shriek, the city official was dead. The chat then told me the monster ahead was blind. It moved purely by sound. I watched the monster inch closer, and one of the chat bros issued a new mission. Stay completely still and wait for the monster to pass by. Reward: cause the target's hearing to fail for 1 minute. With no other option, I held my breath and waited for it to pass. Fortunately, it didn't detect me at all. Once it moved away, I went to check on the man. He was beyond saving. I pulled a City Hall business card from his jacket. But just as I was about to leave, Lu Yinghan rose back up as a zombie. I had no choice but to take care of him myself. The scene shifted as I crept into the station to find Min Cheol and Young-jin. The next second, I spotted the monster closing in on the two of them inside a room. Without any hesitation, I turned and started walking away, fully ready to leave them both behind. Then a chat bro issued a mission. Rescue Min Cheol and Young-jin from the bathroom. Reward: 20 donations. My greed took over, and I headed straight to the restaurant to find a timer. Back at the bathroom, the two idiots were trapped up high with the monster below. Lucky for them, I showed up just in time and hit the timer. The piercing alarm immediately grabbed the monster's attention. While it went chasing after the sound, I tossed the timer to the other side. Min Cheol and Youngjin took the chance to break free. But Jo Youngjin's face had gone deathly pale. His leg was broken, and his face, it already looked like a zombie's. He must have been injured by that monster. If this keeps up, he'll... As reluctant as I was, I still had to leave him behind with Min Cheol. I'm sorry, Jo Youngjin. Just as we were about to go, Jo Youngjin weakly lifted his hand and pointed at a sign nearby. A train was actually pulling in. There's still a train running? And it leaves in 1 minute? Jo Youngjin, thank you. I won't forget you. If I ever clear this game, I'll find a way to make it up to you somehow. Then I warned Min Cheol. Once the train comes, it's going to draw dangerous things, so stay sharp. Not long after, the train roared past without stopping. Zombies and crawler beasts were all drawn toward it. We hid inside a wooden crate and watched. Just as I was wondering why the train had gone straight through, the Mugunghwa Express appeared out of nowhere right in front of us. I crawled out of the crate immediately. The train driver, Jang Seo-yeon, looked extremely impatient. Whether it's the mayor or whoever, there's absolutely nothing here. And I recognized her. She had made the news not long ago for catching a thief on the spot on her train, even getting featured in a magazine. With that in mind, I racked my brain for an approach. I had to get on this train no matter what. That's when Min Cheol, the idiot, pointed out there was only one of her and suggested we just rush her. Before I could respond, Jang Seo-yeon had already noticed us. I could see Min Cheol reaching for his weapon, so I quickly explained we weren't enemies. Jang Seo-yeon scoffed. So you came to hijack the train? Do you really think I'd come here alone? Before she could finish, I quickly held out Liu Yinghan's business card from City Hall. Are you really from City Hall? You don't look it at all. I started pouring on the acting. There's something else I have to tell you. The mayor is dead. He was attacked by a monster on the way here. As you can see, we're the only two who made it. So the priority right now is to leave. Even if it's just us, let's get on the train first. Jang Seo-yeon was clearly torn. I signed a contract to bring the mayor out. I kept spinning my story. I'm the only one left who has City Hall intel. Once we reach the destination, I'll do my best to explain things. Besides, the mayor's already dead. We need to focus on surviving first. With no real choice, Jang Seo-yeon let us on board. The train slowly started moving with a deep rumble. That's when the mayor suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Stop the train! Weren't you supposed to come and get me? Seeing Jang Seo-yeon's blank expression, I reminded her that the zombies behind were already gaining on us. If we don't speed up, they'll catch us. Jang Seo-yeon was trembling with anger, but for the greater good. She went back to the driver's cabin. The abandoned mayor was left in a pitiful state. How can you people just leave me behind? Do I need to give a password or something? The password is the end. Before he could say another word, he was torn apart by zombies. On board, Jang Seo-yeon demanded an explanation. If you don't want to get thrown off this train, you'd better start talking. I put on a totally unbothered expression. Like I just said, the mayor is dead. I had nothing to gain from leaving the mayor behind. I just wasn't with him to begin with. Jang Seo-yeon felt her intelligence had been insulted. You've got some nerve. What is actually going on? You faked being a City Hall employee too, right? What's with that business? Card. Is Liu Yinghan dead? Let me introduce myself. I'm Ko Cheon-su. All I did was hand you that card. I never once said I was Liu Yinghan. I knew it. You played me. I'm throwing both of you off this train right now. In a panic, I quickly ran through the whole story of the mayor abandoning Liu Yinghan. We didn't actually want the mayor to die. We did what we had to do so everyone could survive. Jang Seo-yeon still wasn't over it. But you did lie to me. And by the way, this is fare evasion, you know that? I shot back. Didn't you say in that interview? You said fare evasion can be justified, that passengers might have special circumstances. Jang Seo, that's exactly what we are. Jang Seo-yeon froze. How do you know my name? You couldn't have seen my interview. That feature was barely a small article. I did read it, and it left quite an impression. You said you wanted to face a warmer world. Jang Seo-yeon felt a small flush of embarrassment. If he'd read her interview, maybe he was a better person than he looked. Well, things have gotten to this point and there's nothing we can do about it. Let's just move forward as partners. The moment she said that, I leaned right in to ask about the 7.5 division. Jang Seo-yeon explained the unit was impossible to investigate or meet with. Emergency radio contact was the extent of all available information. We were just getting into it when Min Cheol's expression suddenly turned to horror. The monster that looked like a child had somehow crawled onto the train without us noticing. A chat bro then issued a mission. Kill the monster within 5 minutes. Reward, a one-time skill to see through the target's eyes for 10 minutes. I couldn't help but complain. 5 minutes is cutting it close, bro. One wrong move and I'm dead. Before I finished, a second mission came through. Kill the monster within 1 hour. Reward, a one-time skill increasing vocal volume 7 times. Without hesitating, I went straight to face the monster. Thankfully, the wind on the train was loud enough to completely cover the sound of the door opening. I opened the skill window and activated the one-time skill to disable the target's hearing. Once I was sure it wouldn't notice, I crept up and touched the monster. It reacted instantly and tried to strike back. But with both sight and hearing gone at the same time, it lost its footing and fell off the side of the train. Did that work? I immediately leaned over to check. To my absolute disbelief, the monster was being dragged along under the train, and still hadn't let go. The toughness of this thing was beyond comprehension. Get off! I hammered my foot into its face again and again. Just as it was about to grab hold of my leg, I snatched up my knife and started stabbing relentlessly. The monster finally couldn't take it anymore, and tumbled free from the train. Using nothing but raw skill, I took it out within 5 minutes and completed both missions at once. Back in the cabin, my two companions gave me concerned looks. Jang Seo-yeon said sincerely, "You're even more impressive than I imagined. I didn't expect you to handle that monster so cleanly, and I really didn't expect those screams." Then Min-cheol mentioned the radio had gone off just moments ago. They said if we kept going, we'd hit an inspection post at a makeshift station, and we needed to stop there for a check before proceeding. The 705 division people heard there was no mayor on board and told her to hand the train over to maintenance workers. Something felt off the moment I heard that. I opened the intelligence window. The people at the makeshift station are there specifically to rob travelers. Between the makeshift station and Daejeon station, there's another checkpoint with only a handful of guards. It seemed like a clear signal not to stop at the makeshift station. After thinking it through, I asked the chat to tell me a bit about Jang Seo-yeon's abilities. The chat indicated she could probably handle about 5 people. Once I had a rough picture, I asked Jang Seo-yeon, "What happens if we go straight through the makeshift station? It doesn't feel safe there." And Jang Seo-yeon, "Do you actually trust those people from the 7.5 division? As long as there's nothing wrong with the train, we have no reason to hand it over, and those guys are seriously suspicious. If we stop the train, there's a very real chance we'd have to fight for our lives." Jang Seo-yeon agreed, and brought up that between the makeshift station and Daejeon there was a fork in the track under construction. If someone tampered with the rails, the train would derail onto the construction fork. So if we blasted straight through the makeshift station, we'd end up derailing on that fork. The scene shifted and I activated the skill that boosted my voice 7 times. Then I shouted out to the people at the makeshift station, "Train malfunction!" The guards had never dealt with anything like this and had no idea how to respond. They could only watch helplessly as the train barreled through. Before long, the train reached the fork. I told Min-cheol to sound the horn in 30 minutes to draw zombies for us, then get the train moving. Without another word, Jang Seo-yeon and I slipped out to check out the checkpoint. We moved quietly along the hillside and spotted a few soldiers murmuring to each other. "What the hell do they want us to do? If they resist, just open fire. Then we take the train. It's that damn simple." The next second I moved in and seized one of the soldiers. Jang Seo-yeon was just as fast, choking one of them out. A full-force kick sent a soldier tumbling down the hillside. Seeing themselves suddenly alone, the remaining 2 soldiers were soaked in sweat. Jang Seo-yeon's eyes went cold. Who exactly was saying they'd kill who just now? Wait, just calm down, we're only following orders. What orders? Jang Seo-yeon wasn't having any of it. She started wailing on both of them, then without a shred of mercy kicked them both off the hill. I barely had a chance to stop her before it was already too late. We picked up their guns and prepared to break through and get the train moving. But looking down from above toward the cliff, an endless tide of zombies was crawling toward us like insects. No time to waste. We moved close to the checkpoint. There looked to be around 10 people. I immediately tried to line up a shot, but their concentrated firepower pinned me down completely. Damn it, do these guys have surveillance equipment? That's way too much firepower. Just as I tried to keep shooting, a bullet grazed my arm. On the other side, Jang Seo-yeon also took a graze and collapsed. Between the two of us, we had only 30 bullets left, and the enemy was slowly closing in. No time to explain. I ordered Jang Seo-yeon to fall back. "I'll hold them off. Take the chance and get out of here." During a break in their shooting, I desperately called out for the chat to give me a mission. But the viewers were only there for the show and couldn't care less about my situation. With no other options, I pulled a reckless move. I ran to the cliff edge and screamed at the top of my lungs, "I'm right here. Can you see me? Come and get me, you disgusting dead things." With that done, I told Jang Seo-yeon I'd lead the zombies straight to the checkpoint. Just maintain a bit of distance and follow. I will make it out of this alive. Jang Seo-yeon, please trust me. The scene shifted and I came charging toward the checkpoint with a massive horde of zombies behind me. Before the soldiers could react, I leapt clean over them to the other side. What the? That's definitely a person, right? How is he running that fast? Then I hammered on the checkpoint door with everything I had. Seeing it was me, the guards unloaded their weapons in my direction. What they didn't realize was that all those zombies drawn by the gunfire had already broken through the gate. Meanwhile, Jang Seo-yeon was locked in a pitched battle with the zombies. The constant fighting had left her completely drained, and she was on the verge of being overwhelmed. Thankfully, I appeared just in time and cut down the zombie in front of her. "Hold on." I hoisted Seo-yeon onto my back and sprinted for the exit. Jang Seo-yeon, who'd never experienced anything like this, was completely stunned. She only snapped back when my words registered. "Do you see that track switch over there? The train is almost here. We have 1 minute to sort this out. I'll hold off the zombies." Before long, everyone at the checkpoint had been bitten and killed, and I was deep in combat with the zombies. When I heard Jang Seo-yeon confirm she'd switched the track, I hoisted her onto my back once more. The train was already coming toward us with its horn blaring, but at this speed, it didn't seem like it was planning to stop. I looked closely. Yang Min-cheol was lying in a pool of blood. We had to get on that train. Missing it meant certain death, but the time left on the enemy attraction skill was only 35 seconds. I quickly told Seo-yeon to hold on tight. Then I opened my throat and roared, "You ugly things! Come chase me if you dare." As the number of zombies grew, my physical ability had already far surpassed anything normal, but catching the train was still no easy task. "Not enough, I need more." The chat was telling me to ditch Jang Seo-yeon. As the number of attracted zombies reached 90, my body's performance hit 10 times its normal level. I let out a roar and my speed almost matched the train. "Jang Seo-yeon, hold on tight!" and then I hurled her toward the train. The girl grabbed onto the train's iron railing with everything she had, and I threw myself after it without a second thought, lunging onto the train in one go. Then I reached back and pulled Jang Seo-yeon the rest of the way up. With all of that done, I couldn't help but brag to the chat. What did I say? I don't die. Then suddenly I remembered that brought Yang Min-chil. The driver's cabin smelled strongly of blood. Min-chil was on the floor, and I couldn't tell if he was alive. On top of that, he was covered in blood, and I wasn't sure if he'd been bitten. Min-chil! I kept calling his name, my unease growing by the second. If he was going to turn into a zombie, it should happen soon, and if it did, I'd take care of it. Just then, Min-chil let out 2 small coughs. Seeing him start to stir, I immediately got ready to put him down, but he seemed to still have his mind. Ow, 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 that hurts so much. I took his face in both hands. Min-chil, you weren't bitten by a zombie, were you? Min-chil looked completely baffled. I grabbed onto a zombie, but I think the floor was slippery and I just hit my head. Thank God, I thought you were dead. I pulled him into a hug. Still, I needed to be sure, so I ran my hands all over him, checking that he hadn't been bitten anywhere. What an enormous relief. But how did you two get on the train? Min-chil asked, puzzled. Ko Cheon-su, how did you get so strong? You just launched me into the air, and then you ran with someone on your back and actually caught up to the train. I fumbled for an excuse. I had a burst of superhuman strength because your life was on the line. Jang Seo-yeon looked at me with complete admiration. That's incredible. Your willpower is something else. Just as the 3 of us were enjoying the moment, the radio crackled to life. Who exactly is on that train? Is that the 7.5 division? Sounds like they've lost contact with the checkpoint. I launched straight into my performance. We were fighting zombies alongside the soldiers at the checkpoint just now. They all died. I was the only survivor. The train driver got bitten by a zombie too and threw herself off. What am I supposed to do now? You're from the 705 division, right? What? Hello? The signal is terrible. I can barely hear you. I just need to get to Daejeon, right? After enough rambling nonsense, I hung up. Even Jang Seo-yeon couldn't help but marvel at how thick my skin was. Before reaching the city center, there was a botanical garden, and we planned to make a brief stop there. In the darkness, the small botanical garden felt as eerie as a deep forest, and the occasional rustling sound sent chills down our spines. Just then, a strange branch suddenly shot straight toward Yang Min-chil. Looking closely, it was a plant monster. This was getting completely out of hand. This botanical garden was basically indistinguishable from a monster colony. Figuring that tree spirits typically move very slowly, I told my companions to just go around it. I let Min-chil, who knew the route, lead us off through the side path. But the further we ran, the more tree spirits appeared. In the darkness, I miscalculated and got knocked flat by a massive tree spirit. This creature was enormous. It cut off our path and separated us from Min-chil. We had no choice but to tell Min-chil to go ahead and meet us at the entrance. Watching Min-chil disappear into the distance, we started going all out against the tree spirits. The tree spirits swarmed forward as if they felt no pain, which struck me as strange. With this many monsters surrounding me, why wasn't the enemy attraction skill activating? The chat pointed out that thing had no eyes or ears. Being directly attracted didn't apply to it. I responded by kicking a tree spirit hard. The skill finally activated, which told me everything I needed to understand. Jang Seo-yeon, don't attack them. These things identify enemies through physical contact. Let's just head straight in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, Min-chil had run all the way to the entrance of the botanical garden. Since there was no soil on the road, the tree spirits hadn't followed. He thought back over everything that had happened these past days. He turned and walked into a convenience store. He paid for some soju and a cloth. You can all go to hell. He hurled the flaming bundle toward the tree spirits inside the botanical garden. It was devastatingly effective. They started shrieking uncontrollably. The tree spirits, scorched by the flames, began to explode violently, and the ones that had identified an enemy started rushing madly toward young Min-chil. The burning trees looked even more sinister and terrifying in the darkness. Just as Min-chil thought he was finished, a jet of water came spraying down on the tree spirits. What are you doing standing there? Get over here. An old man grabbed Min-chil by the arm and ran toward his house. Min-chil noticed this route wasn't on any map he'd seen. The old man suddenly wrenched open a manhole cover and shoved Min-chil down inside. Dazed and disoriented, Min-chil looked up. It was a small makeshift room. You alright? No injuries? The old man asked with concern. This is where I live. I've been building it piece by piece since before the world fell apart. But judging by your school uniform, you must still be a student. Min-chil suddenly thought of me. Oh right, Cheon-su and the others. The old man looked irritated. If you really want to save them, wait until dawn. Once it's light, the tree spirits take root underground and stop moving. Going out now would just be throwing your life away. Min-chil agreed to wait until morning. The old man held out a can of yellow peaches. You must be hungry. In a situation like this, eating and drinking well is what matters most. Yang Min-chil, who hadn't tasted anything this good in so long, welled up with tears. The old man then cheerfully passed him a bottle of water. Watching him eat like he hadn't seen food in days, the old man's face broke into a deeply unsettling smile. By the way, I can fill your bag with rations. I have far more supplies here than I need. It's really fine. Min-chil quickly refused. You've already given me a place to rest. I'm more than grateful. The unease in his chest made it impossible to sleep, thinking that his companions might be starving to death. Min-chil couldn't help but glance at the can of yellow peaches on the table. There were so many cans here, taking one probably wouldn't matter. He picked it up, then immediately hesitated. How could he do this to the old man who had just saved his life? That thought made him set the can back down and return to bed. But the old man's eyes took on that calculating, unsettling look once more. Meanwhile, the number of tree spirits in the botanical garden had become overwhelming. In the dense dark forest, more and more tree spirits were being awakened, triggering a chain reaction that had no end. Jang Se-yeon had already taken injuries. We'd been running in every direction so long that even I had completely lost my bearings. A chat bro reminded me to look for a rabbit nearby. Completely at a loss, I obviously didn't find any rabbit, but I did find a small bear. Perfect. It's my little stuffed bear. Seemed like it wanted us to follow, so I grabbed Jang Se-yeon and kept pace with the stuffed bear. At this point I had exactly 37 donations saved, which meant no matter how many crates appeared, I was opening every one. But when I saw the price on the crate, I nearly had a heart attack. Guys, why does this crate cost 72 donations? Has inflation really gotten this bad? The first ones were 1 and 5 donations. When did this suddenly spike like a summer electricity bill? What's wrong with you, Ko Cheon-su? From Jang Se-yeon's perspective, I was just raving and losing my mind. The monsters are back on us. Hurry up. By this point I had already given up on the crate. Speaking of which, if these are tree spirits, does fire still work on them? Suddenly a burst of water snapped me back to my senses. The tree spirits doused in water had stopped giving chase. A young man waved at us. I'm here to help. Come this way. No time to think. We had no choice but to follow. There's a shelter nearby. Come with me. Meanwhile, Min-cheol was feeling dizzy and heavy all over. You don't sound too well. It'll be quite a while until dawn, the old man said quietly. Min-cheol hadn't grasped how serious things were. I'm so drowsy, old man. What a strange one you are. Just close your eyes and rest. I'll stay right here and watch over you. Picking up on the shift in the old man's tone, Min-cheol's alarm bells started going off. Wait, could it be? Youth is remarkable, always managing to hang on. Just sleep and it'll all be over. What did you do to me? All I did was save your life, nothing else. The reason you feel this way is because you touched that can. Didn't you notice something was coated on the surface of the can? That's leaf toxin. It's extracted from the leaves of those monsters you saw just now. But don't worry, it works just like a sleeping drug. Now tuck yourself in properly. I don't want you getting sick. We'll see each other again. Get down here quickly. The young man led us to the entrance of a bunker. I didn't fully trust him, but I chose to take shelter first. Underground was a spacious area, with shelves packed full of books. The man introduced himself. His name was Liu Chi-cheng. From what I could gather, he was living here alone. He offered to get us something to drink, but cautious as ever, I politely declined. Alright then, let me know if you need anything. There's more than enough food. That somehow made us feel even more uneasy, though we couldn't quite put our finger on why. Before long, Jang Se-yeon had drifted off to sleep on the bed. I also closed my eyes to get a bit of rest. That's when the chat went absolutely wild, telling me to wake up immediately. Liu Chi-chung crept close to me and I nearly jumped out of my skin. He caught himself. I was just worried you'd be cold, so I came to put a blanket over you. A little while later, lying on the soft mattress, I was barely holding on. Having gone so long without proper rest, I was utterly exhausted. Without realizing it, I began to doze off, even drooling a little. Thankfully, the chat was screaming at me not to fall asleep. I pinched my thigh hard and forced myself back to my feet. Seeing that Liu Chi-cheng had fallen asleep, I carefully opened the door to another room. It had every daily necessity you could think of. Come to think of it, he said tree spirits don't move during the day. So why would someone who clearly knows that suddenly go out in the middle of the night? That thought made me notice the can of yellow peaches on the table. The markings on the lid and the body of the can looked different, which meant that with a resealer, anyone could fill this thing with anything. Without a moment's hesitation, I pinned Liu Chi-chung firmly to the ground. Then I woke Jang Se-yeon and had her grab a bedsheet. We wrapped him up tight. Then, on a suggestion from the chat, tied him to the ladder. That'll do for tonight. Once we're gone, you can go back to being free. The next morning, Jang Se-yeon was jolted awake by the alarm she'd set. She tried to wake me but got no response. My face had gone pale and ashen. She urgently asked Liu Chi-chung what had happened. Liu Chi-chung let out a sick smile. You've got nerve getting angry at me after what you did. That Ko Cheon-su touched one of the cans. At a quick glance, there's nothing unusual. And in the dark at night, it's even harder to spot. I coated the cans with leaf toxin, specifically to catch ungrateful thieves like you. Jang Se-yeon's fury ignited. Give me the antidote right now. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Jang Se-yeon's anger hit a new level and she started beating him relentlessly. Then something strange happened. Flames suddenly erupted from Liu Chi-cheng's body. Did you forget I had a lighter on me? Everything in here is dry kindling. It's all flammable. Jang Se-yeon immediately grabbed the bedsheet to try to smother the fire. Realizing it was useless, she grabbed a water pipe nearby. But that gave the madman just enough slack to break free and fight back. The sudden turn of events caught Jang Se-yeon completely off guard, and she was briefly overpowered. She struggled free only to find thick smoke rising all around her. The damn smoke quickly swallowed her vision. Found you! Liu Chi-cheng lunged at her wearing a gas mask. Die. I'm going to turn all of you into fertilizer. You should be thanking me. You can't just beat up my trees and walk away. Before she could hear the rest of what he said, the girl's vision began to blur. Then suddenly a beam of clear, bright light cut through the smoke. I had come around just in time and thrown open the hatch at the exit. Fresh air from outside beats indoor air any day, right? How did you break the leaf toxin? Liu Chi-cheng couldn't believe it. I looked at him with complete disdain. You're going to pay for poisoning me. With that, I grabbed his arm and snapped it. Having already been burned, the pain of the beating was even worse for Liu Chi-cheng. He tried to fight back, but I held him down with one hand. Then I ripped the gas mask right off his face. My body's different from a normal person's, so my recovery speed is a bit faster too. With that, I grabbed him by the throat and let him experience what it felt like to struggle for breath. Then I went to work on his ugly face. Jang Se-yeon got back on her feet and started stomping on him for good measure. Liu Chi-cheng couldn't take any more. He let out a desperate wail. Grandpa! Hearing him scream like that, I immediately demanded answers. Was there anyone else in this botanical garden? Meanwhile, on the other side, Lu Qicheng's grandfather was digging a deep pit, and lying at the bottom was none other than our high schooler Yang Minchil. Youth is a precious thing. I need to move faster. The smell of damp earth slowly pulled Minchil back to consciousness. Where am I? Let me out of here. Out of the question. I'm going to use you as fertilizer. But you don't need to worry. What you see are just the roots. They only absorb nutrients. Minchil was terrified. Let me go, you crazy old man. The old man scoffed. Young people are so unpleasant to talk to. That's exactly why I prefer plants. Stop struggling. With that, the old man slammed his shovel into Minchil's shoulder. Minchil crumpled to the ground in agony. Becoming fertilizer is just being reborn in another form. Nothing to worry about in this apocalypse. Just take root and be still. Minchil thrashed with everything he had. No way. You deranged old man. A decrepit old man like you who'll be dead soon is the one who should be turning into fertilizer. Ha, what terrible manners. Seeing the shovel come swinging down again, Minchil timed it right and caught the blade with both hands. Blood sprayed everywhere, but the rope snapped too. I'm going to kill you. Minchil yanked down with every last bit of strength, and the caught-off-guard old man toppled into the pit. Minchil clenched his fist and slowly closed in. Now the tables have turned. Tell me everything. Are there any other accomplices in this botanical garden? Where are my companions? The old man grinned slyly. I have no idea, but if my grandson took them, who knows what's become of them? Before Minchil could react, the old man grabbed a rock and smashed it across his face, then broke free and made a lunge for the shovel. But Minchil was young and strong. One kick caught the old man right in the lower back. He then snatched up the shovel and brought it crashing down. After a relentless beating, the old man started begging, "Kill me and you'll never find your friends." Does that not mean anything to you? And even if I tell you, you won't find your way. The routes here are complicated. You'll have to take me with you. Minchil's eyes went cold. Then where are they? Tell me first. It's not like I don't know the answer anyway. They're in the Broadleaf Tree Exhibition Hall, northwest of the main entrance. Please take me with you. You're so young. Surely you know that killing people indiscriminately is wrong. Minchil calmly lifted the shovel high. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not nearly as innocent as I look. I'm old enough to do whatever it takes. Also, you don't know that I've memorized the entire map of this botanical garden. There's only a tree-lined path to the northwest. No broadleaf forest. Back on the other side of the botanical garden, I was busy sending hints to the chat. Guys, this crate actually cost 72 donations to open. There must be something incredibly good inside. Be honest, you're all dying of curiosity, right? Let's open it together. But the viewers were merciless and kept telling me to give up. I then tried with every ounce of my strength to physically move the crate, and quickly learned not to underestimate the rules of this world. It was impossibly heavy. Just as I was about to give up, only one decided to give me a chance. He said he could lend me some donations, but I'd have to pay them back once I earned more. I smiled at that and said I had absolutely no regrets, and so I received 35 donations from him. A little while later, I was holding a wickedly sharp-looking axe. Meanwhile, Minchil had clawed his way out of the pit using the last of his strength. By the time we found him, he had completely lost consciousness. I immediately hoisted him on my back and headed toward the main entrance to look for medical supplies. At the most critical moment, we finally found a warehouse. I swung the axe and split the lock clean off. Inside, we found a small garbage cart. After all that effort, the three of us finally made it to a general hospital. Unfortunately, the world had ended. Even the hospital was completely empty. No time to waste. We assessed Minchil's injuries. At the very minimum, he needed his wounds stitched and medication. But this wreck of a hospital seemed to have nothing, like it had been looted clean. I went to check other rooms, but suddenly heard a strange sound. I quickly asked the chat if they heard anything. Those useless guys all said no. For Minchil's safety, I immediately told Jang Seo-yeon to get ready to leave. Little did I know, at that very moment a strange figure was slowly rising up behind me. I smell blood. I immediately got into a fighting stance. We're leaving. Get out of our way if you don't want to get hurt. The woman ignored me completely and kept closing in. If you go outside, you'll die. It looks like he went into shock from blood loss. How unfortunate. Jang Seo-yeon was a bit unnerved. Cheon-su, let's go. This woman is acting strange. Hearing that, the woman seemed to get even more excited. People always say that about me. I've already brought medical supplies. Can I take a look at the patient now? With that, Kim Ha-ryung produced her student ID. She was a fourth-year nursing student. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest. Guys, can helper-type characters actually appear in this system? The chat said it was uncertain. Apparently support characters refresh each time. Kim Ha-ryung broke into an unhinged grin. I'm going to get out my very best medicine and wrap him in bandages from head to toe. That only convinced me more that something was off with her. Kim Ha-ryung added, I like my patients alive. I've been searching so hard for a living patient. Please let me keep him that way. With no other options, I agreed to her request. After the treatment, Yang Minchil suddenly jolted awake. You made it, Minchil. I really thought you were done for. That was not easy. You've been out for over half the day. Having walked the line between life and death, seeing his friends again brought Minchil to tears. Just then he noticed the nursing student beaming with delight. I'm Kim Ha-ryung. I'm the one who brought you back. You don't have to thank me too much. It's what I'm here for. Thank you. Looking at the results of her treatment, I had to admit it was impressive. So, do I bring her along? The only concern is that handing the reins to someone this unusual could get complicated. After thinking it over seriously, I decided we'd leave as a group of 3. To thank Kim Ha-ryung for her help, I also gave her some supplies as a reward. We hadn't gone far when we noticed something strange. There wasn't a single zombie in the entire area. On the bright side, we found some gas, which meant we could make a fire and cook. Walking into an abandoned restaurant, the atmosphere was actually pretty decent, not a zombie corpse in sight. Since 3 people meant the ingredients wouldn't stretch far enough, I went back to the convenience store and gathered more supplies. Just as I stood up to leave, Kim Ha-ryung startled me again. "Have you been following us this whole time?" I demanded. "And why are you still following us? I already gave you something as thanks." Kim Ha-ryung flustered. "I thought you might need someone to keep monitoring the patient's condition, so please let me come with you." "If that's the case, you should have gone to find Min Chil. Why were you following me? You just want to join us, don't you?" Caught out, Kim Ha-ryung was completely flustered and at a loss for words. I found myself thinking, the hesitant, uncertain Kim Ha-ryung right now is probably who she really is. She used to be full of confidence, but with no role to play, she's left struggling in fear. "Alright, Kim Ha-ryung, I'll say yes, but there's one condition." Back at the restaurant, with everyone watching, I prepared to show off my cooking. What they didn't know was that I was a man with years of experience living on my own. I delicately pinched the ladle between 2 fingers and began dropping various instant ingredients into the pot. Since everything was pre-cooked, putting it all together still made for a surprisingly decent dish. After a dramatic finish to the cooking performance, the taste turned out to be shockingly good. Everyone dug in like they hadn't eaten in days. I then reminded Jang Seo-yeon, "If I suddenly do something that seems absurd, please try to understand, because there's always a reason behind it." Seo-yeon looked baffled. "So where are you going right now?" Not long after, I made my way to the convenience store entrance and found Kim Ha-ryung sitting there waiting. She broke into a wide smile the moment she saw me. The condition I had just set was for her to wait in place for 30 minutes, a test of whether I could count on her. Seeing her still there exactly as asked, I knew she was someone I could work with. Kim Ha-ryung fidgeted nervously. "Honestly, I was sitting here anxious the whole time, worrying you'd leave me behind." At that point, I picked up her student ID for her, but she said she didn't need it anymore. Looking closely, I noticed the student number section appeared to have been altered. She explained she was actually a second-year student. She had come here with some seniors and they ran into soldiers. But the soldiers said the vehicle had limited space and could only take upperclassmen, so she had rushed to change her student number, except it didn't work in the end, so she had no more use for the ID. I still told her to keep it, and reassured her that from now on she wouldn't have to worry about being left behind. "As long as you stay with us, you'll be fine." Is it alright if I call you Mr. Ko Cheon-su?" Kim Ha-ryung asked shyly. When I brought Kim Ha-ryung back to the restaurant, my companions were stunned. "You're going to have her travel with us? How did you not mention this beforehand?" I explained it wasn't just because she had helped us. She had also been abandoned here by her own companions. "Seo-yeon, I told you to hear me out sometimes. Now is that time. If you trust me, please accept her." Min Chil spoke up first. "Then I'm willing to accept her. She saved my life after all. And Cheon-su Hyung wouldn't bring her along for no reason. Let's travel together. Please give her a chance, Nuna." Seo-yeon still had her doubts but eventually relented. "Great, then let's all move together from now on." Next, I shared some startling news. According to Kim Ha-ryung, the tree spirits had completely taken over the entire area. That was why there were no zombies or other monsters in this zone. I stepped outside and swung the axe into a tree by the road. Strange sap immediately burst from the wound. On top of that, a number appeared where the tree was struck. I kept swinging and noticed the number was going up, like it was counting something. Just then, Jang Seo-yeon made another major discovery. An old-fashioned radio was picking up a broadcast from the 7.5 Division. "All survivors, please make your way to the survivor camps operated by our forces as soon as possible. We have major bases across all cities. Means of contact can be found at most train and bus stations. This radio runs on batteries, so it can still receive signals. Everyone, let's head for the bus station now." The 4 of us walked outside together. The sky was dark and heavy, as if rain was imminent. Addressing everyone's concerns, I explained we were only going to the bus station to find a vehicle. Kim Ha-ryung looked alarmed. "Are we going to steal someone's car?" Strange, her expression now was nothing like the one she'd had before. "Never mind that. First things first, let's head to Kim Ha-ryung's place. It's just down that alley." That's when I suddenly heard something behind us. I quickly yanked Kim Ha-ryung aside and hid. 3 large men were muttering among themselves, something about coming to the wrong place. All 3 had a dangerous look about them. To be safe, we decided to wait for them to leave before moving. A little while later, we arrived at Ha-ryung's place. "This is where I live." Oh no, not another sewer. As the iron cover was lifted, thunder rumbled across the sky. A heavy rain was coming. "Ha-ryung, when you come down, can you close the manhole cover?" Without a word, Kim Ha-ryung simply shone her flashlight on the tree spirit's roots nearby. The half-formed creature extended its roots and pulled the manhole cover right over, sealing the entrance shut. "Whoa, the cover closed. How did you control it like that?" Kim Ha-ryung explained the one she had tied up was a tree spirit's root. When only the root remains, if a light shines on it, it believes it's sunlight coming through, so it covers the opening. Apparently, they believe they can only become tree spirits by staying underground. We were completely speechless at that. There was no denying it. She was a genuine genius. And looking around, the living space she had set up was warm and comfortable. Notes on her research into the tree spirits were scattered across sheets of paper. The stream of compliments left the girl with a bashful glow. It really does feel like a proper little home. Without further delay, the group prepared to rest. I reminded the chat to wake me up without fail if anything dangerous happened. Not long into my sleep, the chat's screaming hit me like a thunderclap. "Wake up, you idiot." I jolted upright immediately. Was that a girl's voice just now? Am I dreaming? Then came the sound of roots hammering against the ceiling overhead, going absolutely haywire. The chat tore into me, calling me a pig. Apparently, Over the Limit, one of my biggest donors, had used the broadcast feature just to wake me up. Over the Limit was my top supporter at the moment. He had just used the broadcast feature, which was a newly unlocked hidden game function. But that wasn't the point. I quickly woke Kim Ha-ryung. Ha-ryung, get up and check what's happening with that thing. It looks like it's having some kind of episode. Kim Ha-ryung calmly explained it was just water droplets. Tree roots naturally extend toward water sources then repeatedly contract. They need an enormous amount of water to become a full tree spirit, so don't worry. Slightly reassured, I let her go back to sleep. Before long, the chat woke me up again. You absolute maniac. I looked up to find the whole room was practically a waterfall. Holy, no wonder it's so refreshing in here, the water's completely seeped in. Everyone, get up. I quickly urged everyone to grab their things and be ready to run. Because this wasn't an ordinary sewer, it was a massive water storage tank. I quietly asked the chat what tree spirits do when it rains. While I was racking my brain, Ha-ryung passed me a raincoat. There might be rampaging tree spirits outside, but staying here means drowning. The chat sent another warning. There might be a monster nearby that's influencing the surrounding environment. That made my blood run cold. I grabbed a stone and tossed it into the water. After a splash, a single terrifying eye slowly surfaced. It was a saw croc, a monster that spawns wherever water levels rise. Worse, the manhole cover above seemed impossible to open too. Something was pressing down on it from above. In fact, the tree spirits had used their root network to lock the iron cover in place. I thought quickly and decided to deal with the crocodile first, though fighting in water was a terrible disadvantage. Wait, Kim Ha-ryung, you said the roots need a massive amount of water to grow into a full tree spirit, right? That's right, but they really do need a lot. I had made up my mind. I told everyone to take shelter on the ladder while I raised the axe. I brought it down and chopped the tree spirit's root clean off into the water. With a splash, we began to watch. After a brief moment of silence, the tree spirit's root erupted from the water at an astonishing size, bursting through the surface with immense force. Its dense, powerful branches locked the saw croc in a vice grip, fighting fire with fire, using one enemy against another. The tree spirit, fed by the abundant water, kept growing larger, battering the crocodile until it had no way to fight back. Before long, the crocodile was drained dry and went still. I allowed myself a satisfied smile and stepped down from the ladder. Then I turned to the chat. Guys, I think this axe has something special going on with it. Let me head out and start chopping things. My companions were all alarmed. That's dangerous. But I threw caution aside and raised the axe. Cheer me on, everyone. The first swing barely scratched the tree spirit. Minimal effect. Using quick footwork, I pulled back and dodged his counterattack. The second swing hit harder, slicing one of its branches clean in two. This axe was clearly powerful, but I had a feeling it was hiding much more than that. As I kept swinging, the red numbers appearing on each hit continued to stack. When the count reached 10, one of the tree spirit's thick main trunks was split in two by a single blow. That told me everything I needed to know about this axe. No matter what part you hit, once the count reaches 10, it unleashes a devastating burst of cutting force. After a discovery like that, I didn't care how strong the enemy was. With relentless swings, the tree spirit was reduced to pieces in no time. The reward this time was 20 donations from the viewers. My companions watched in complete disbelief. The rain has stopped outside and the saw croc is dead. We can finally head out. Before long, I stopped at a shop and picked out a baseball bat for Min Cheol as his weapon. That's when we suddenly heard a group of big men yelling up ahead. Damn it, where did they go? The captain is going to tear us apart for this. Suddenly they seemed to sense something and charged forward with dangerous expressions. We noticed these men weren't the same group we'd seen yesterday, but they had the same tattoos and a similar kind of energy. They were likely connected. Min Cheol, however, had gone completely pale, visibly panicked. Out of curiosity, we decided to go take a closer look. We hadn't gone far when a man came sprinting toward us, screaming, "Please, someone help me! Please save!" Before he could finish, someone behind him caved his skull in with a heavy blow. Ha, this damn fool. All that running for nothing. The three men in front of us radiated pure menace, every bit of them screaming cold-blooded killer. I told the group to be ready to run. Picking a fight with a gang would only make things worse. The one with green hair suddenly flashed a mocking grin. Well, isn't this Yang Min Cheol? Someone you know? I turned to Min Cheol. Min Cheol was gritting his teeth, clearly not knowing where to begin. Either way, don't come any closer. I positioned myself between them, axe in hand. Because we were already preparing to leave, Greenhair's tone turned more arrogant. Long time no see and you can't even say hello? Looks like he doesn't feel like saying hello to you. How about we just skip to goodbye? No, that's not what I meant at all. I said I was going to say hello to him. Min Cheol, aren't you happy to see me? The way this guy kept pushing was getting on my nerves. Then I'll just have to make you regret not listening to me and walking away sooner. Green hair, completely unaware of what was coming, still had the nerve to taunt back. You and Min Cheol both need to read the room. Min Cheol, for old time's sake, I'll count to 3. But before he could even start counting, the stick in his hand had already been chopped into pieces. And in the same breath, the blade swept across his chest in a flash. The remaining 2 thugs tried to step in. I cut them both down at monster speed before they could. Greenhair tried to get back up. The axe came down on his shoulder again. You were so tough a moment ago. How are you already on the ground? Get up. Stop lying there dragging your jacket through the dirt. You, shut up! Greenhair bellowed. Guys like you always tell people to shut up. If I do shut up, does that somehow make things better for you? You bastard. Do you know who I am? You've made a serious mistake crossing us. I just smiled with even more contempt. How could the one and only main character of this world let trash like you push him around? With that, I beat him to within an inch of his life. His two companions weren't spared either. After finishing with them, I slowly walked back over to Green Hair. He begged for mercy. I didn't flinch. When we said we were leaving, you were the one who wouldn't let us go. Now that I'm supposed to back off, I honestly don't know how to do that anymore. Just then, Kim Ha-ryung called out, Mr. Cheon-su, does this person need medical treatment too? Well, would treating him while killing him bit by bit until he breathes his last really be too cruel? You're all insane. Green Hair completely lost it. Min-chil, Yang Min-chil, why are you just standing there? We go way back. Come on, stop these lunatics. I turned to Min-chil and asked again what his connection to these people was. We were in the same group for a short time. Later I got help from some kind-hearted people, and after going back to school I cut all ties with them. A relative who helped me was a police officer. These guys probably let me go to avoid the trouble. Hearing that, I had no more hesitation and prepared to finish Green Hair off. At that moment, Jang Seo-yeon stepped in to stop me. Killing him is fine, but I think we should ask a few questions before we do. Before long, the thug was tied to a tree and begging desperately. I calmly told him to keep his voice down and not attract the tree spirits. There are terrifying roots underground too. You've got wounds on your body. They'll drain you dry before you know it. No, I don't want to die. Please spare me. I'll tell you everything. Our gang is called the Black Tattoo. 20 members in total. You're going around killing survivors and wandering the streets? No, the truck we were traveling in broke down. We just need repair parts. I allowed a small smile. Good, that's the basic information I needed. Thanks. Seeing us about to leave, the thug couldn't help but shout, "You're just going to leave me here alone?" Yep. No point leaving a weed with its roots intact. When the other members of Black Tattoo arrived at the scene, what they found was nothing short of horrifying. Scarface was stunned. Report to the boss. But first, find out who did this. Looks like they were even interrogated. What kind of lowlife does something like this? That's when the others discovered more bodies nearby. The bodies are still warm. These people are close. Fan out and search every inch of this place. Meanwhile, Min Cheo mentioned the organization had a scarred member named Ju Sang-jin, probably at the level of field captain. The gang leader liked to organize things into squads, a patrol unit, a rapid response unit, and a rear guard. The men we ran into earlier were likely from the patrol unit, generally in charge of keeping watch, robbing, and searching. After hearing all of that, I had a clear picture of the situation. They had roughly 17 members left. Suddenly we spotted a rundown truck, possibly the one the thug had mentioned. I went to take a closer look. The cargo hold was covered in blood, suggesting someone infected had been inside. Opening the hood revealed everything was pulled apart and thrown back together haphazardly, a complete mess. So they were just a ragtag bunch who'd reduced a perfectly good truck to scrap. Since the truck was useless, we turned to leave. That's when I noticed a furtive figure lurking in the alley. He was wearing the same clothes as the man who'd been chased earlier. Wait, please don't attack me. I was ambushed while traveling on the cargo truck. I barely escaped with my life and went into hiding. After checking with Min Chil, who said he'd never seen this person before, I lowered the axe. The man knelt on the ground with a sigh of relief. I could tell right away you were different from those people, because you have a student among you. Those tattooed people, they pretended to want to help us, then tried to cave our skulls in. Have you seen anyone dressed like me? I told him to calm down. Can you tell me which direction the tattooed people went? South? They went south. We immediately headed north. Seeing us about to leave him behind, the man panicked. What about me? You're not going south? Don't you need a vehicle? You can't go north. There's no way through without a car up there. It's full of monsters and thorns. I saw them from a distance. They grab anyone who passes and tear them apart, but they don't attack vehicles that drive through. I frowned and asked the chat what these thorn monsters were. It sounded like some kind of mutated carnivorous plant. Weighing everything up, I still decided to head north. After all, dealing with a group of thugs wasn't exactly a challenge for us anymore. The man's expression turned ingratiating. My name is Oh Young-jun. He seemed cooperative enough, but I still decided to leave Oh Young-jun behind, because his hand had a very visible wound. Kim Ha-ryung spotted instantly that it was an infected wound. Oh Young-jun was on the verge of breaking down. Please, I'm begging you, help me. If you cut my hand off, I'll definitely be fine. Kim Ha-ryung explained that cutting off his arm would create a new wound. If you've been infected for a while, the infection will find another way to spread through the body. I explained simply, we can cut your arm off, but if you've been infected long enough, you'll die quickly anyway. Whatever happens, I want to try. Oh Young-jun gritted his teeth. This is all because of those people. This is so unfair. I refuse to die like this. I handed the axe to Ha-ryung to disinfect. Then I started appealing to the chat to issue a mission, something like letting this person survive for a while after losing the arm. Just then, a viewer with the username Psycho issued a mission. Use the tool to strike at least 5 times to sever Oh Young-jun's arm. Reward, for 1 hour after the amputation, he will experience no side effects whatsoever. The surgery began shortly after. 5 strikes. This mission had to be completed. As the gut-wrenching screams kept coming from inside, even Min Chil and Seo Yeon couldn't help but shudder. Why does it keep going? How many times has he struck already? The surgery ended and Oh Young-jun passed out completely. I mentioned calmly that if he wasn't awake in 5 minutes, we'd be leaving without him. Before the words were even out, Oh Young-jun was already struggling to his feet. Haha, it worked. I feel completely normal. Thanks to you, Mr. Ko Cheon-su. I can't thank you all enough. Watching him like that, I felt a twinge of guilt. This was only the effect of the mission delaying things. Who knew what would happen after an hour? What the hell is wrong with this thing? Suddenly, the sound of a man beating a car came from outside. Why does this stupid truck have to be the only option? There's got to be something else. Were the two people outside also fixing that truck? Were they patrol unit members too? We watched two thugs completely losing their minds over a refrigerated truck they couldn't fix. I told my companions, taking these two out right now would be no problem. But we also needed to know where this gang's base was. So tailing them was the play, and to keep the chance of being spotted low, one person was best. My choice was Oh Young-jun. So Oh Young-jun set off and tailed the two small-time thugs, until they ran into the men under Captain Ju Sang-jin. Ju Sang-jin explained that 3 gang members had been killed and he was here to find whoever did it. We'll take care of them quietly. You two keep looking for parts. Watching Ju Sang-jin lead his men toward our group's location, Oh Young-jun instantly panicked. He agonized over whether to run back and warn us or keep following. The scene cut to his return, and he nearly had a heart attack. Because whether it was the girl who seemed fragile, or the high schooler who seemed young, or even the nurse who was supposed to be saving lives, every single one of them was casually beating thugs senseless. And Captain Ju Sang-jin had been backed into a corner by me. He was gnashing his teeth, completely out of options. Suddenly he spotted Oh Young-jun nearby and lunged forward to grab him. Stay back, or I'll slit his throat. I couldn't help but sneer. You're even more disappointing than I imagined. I thought a field captain would at least be composed. I can see that's not the case. You're a thug. Fight me like one. Seeing me still stepping forward, Ju Sang-jin flew into a rage, drove his knife into Oh Young-jun's chest, then turned and bolted. You bastard! That sight snapped something in me. In an instant, one savage blow came crashing down on his back. Apologize. You bastard! The axe came down on Ju Sang-jin's body again and again like thunderstrikes. He couldn't take any more. I'm sorry, stop swinging. I'm sorry. There, are you satisfied? Stop already. That's not an apology. You need to apologize to them, not to me. And an apology isn't just words. With that, I grabbed him by the head and drove it into the ground. Ignoring his pleas, I hauled him back up and slammed him down again, until he lay on the ground and didn't move. On the other side, Oh Young-jun's infection was spreading faster. The fresh wound had weakened his immune system. The virus was now moving through his entire body. Oh Young-jun forced himself to stay alert. I'm sorry, looks like I don't have much time left. I shook my head. There's nothing for you to apologize for, Mr. Oh Young-jun. Did you find the Black Tattoo's base? Oh Young-jun summoned every last bit of strength and pulled himself upright. I found it. I'll take you there myself. I turned and gave Min Cheol a quiet pat on the shoulder. Steel yourself. It's time to settle the score. Let's wipe them out together, Mr. Oh Young-jun. Oh Young-jun limped his way to the gang's base. Get out here, you bastards. The Black Tattoo boss Gu Young-hyun strolled out slowly. What's this about? Who are you? Who else? The person who's here to kill you. Oh Young-jun kept provoking him. Gu Young-hyun didn't get angry. He laughed. You think you can kill me? Looking like that? A man with one hand and you've still got nerve? I'll give you that. And what's with that look in your eyes? You that eager to meet your maker? We finally tracked down all the parts to fix the truck, and some idiot like you shows up to ruin the mood. But before Gu Young-hyun could make a move, Oh Young-jun let out a roar. Jang Seo-yeon, hearing the signal, immediately attacked from behind the gang. Yang Min-cheol charged in right behind her. By the time Gu Young-hyun registered what was happening, his men were already dropping all around him, and I carved through what was left like the Grim Reaper himself. Before long I was right behind him. So you're the one who made our Min Cheol's life hell? You little punk, don't tell me you bought Min Cheol over just to come after me. Die. Gu Young-hyun swung with everything he had, but I deflected it without effort. He flew into a rage, swinging again and again, and I blocked every single one. I parried and taunted at the same time. And this is the strength of someone who calls himself a boss? Who the hell are you? Gu Young-hyun panicked and lost his grip on his weapon. Who else? The guy Min Cheol hired. Isn't that what you just said? You said the same thing as your men. Clearly you're the kind of boss who takes education seriously. Only then did Gu Young-hyun look back to find every single one of his men was dead, while Oh Young-jun was tearing into his enemy like a man possessed. Even I paused for a moment at that sight, which gave Gu Young-hyun just enough time to escape. What a pathetic excuse for a boss. With no choice, I slowly raised my axe toward Oh Young-jun. Thank you for everything, but it's time to say goodbye, Kim Ha-ryung called out urgently. He hasn't turned yet, so I lowered the axe. Oh Young-jun, will you grant me one last request? On the other side, Gu Young-hyun had fled to a corner of the building, seething with hatred for Yang Min-cheol. Because of that little brat, I lost every last one of my men in one go. Just then, the voices of Jang Seo-yeon and Min Cheol sent him into a panic. He bolted up the stairs as fast as his legs could carry him. Securing the high ground was basic survival instinct. Along the way he grabbed an iron rod, pressing his back to the wall and readying himself. I have to get that truck. As long as I have fresh food and a moving refrigerator, a comeback is absolutely possible. While he was still thinking this, Min Cheol already pushed the door open. Young Min Cheol, you dare betray me? You ungrateful little punk? Do you have any idea how well I treated you? Min Cheol's expression was cold. Thanks to you I couldn't even go to school. I had to repeat a year because of you. What gives someone like you the right to interfere in other people's lives? You've been crushing people, from the very beginning, even taking innocent lives. Gu Young-hyun flew into a rage. Don't play innocent with me, you little punk. You were part of our organization too. I smoked a few cigarettes, I never hurt anyone. Gu Young-hyun was furious but feared an ambush, so he didn't dare go down. Just then 2 figures came walking down from upstairs. We're right here. It was Jang Seo-yeon and Kim Ha-ryung. "Stay back, all of you, you bunch of lunatics." The gang boss was scared out of his mind, watching the two terrifying women slowly closing in on him. He threw caution aside and charged straight at Yang Min-chil. But Min-chil had clearly seen it coming. He casually swung the door shut right into that smug face. In the light, the cheeks of both women seemed to give off an eerie purple glow. The sheer terror sent Gu Yong-hyun into a hallucination, and he ran screaming back down the stairs. He spotted the truck and felt a rush of pure joy. Finally, I might actually make it out of this alive. The next second, I materialized behind him like a ghost. "You maniac!" Gu Yong-hyun bolted with everything he had. He yanked open the truck door and found that one of his men had somehow survived. He barely got a word out before a single heavy blow knocked him cold. Coming to in a daze, he slowly regained his senses and found himself on a large truck. "Thank goodness, you saved me. Haha. Turns out I've picked up a truly capable subordinate. Wait, why am I tied up? Let me go." No. Only then did he notice that something was very wrong with his subordinate's appearance. You're Oh Young-jun? Help! Where are we even going?" Then a strange sound came. The vehicle tipped and crashed onto its side. Long, grotesque plant vines like disgusting tentacles instantly shattered the window glass and drove straight through both of their bodies. And with Oh Young-jun's final middle finger pointed at his enemy, the vehicle erupted in a massive explosion. That was the last thing Oh Young-jun did for us. Drive the truck to wherever the sensors were, and we found ourselves a small car and set out on the road again. The little nurse had gathered a whole pile of watches. They weren't exactly useful, but they were good for the mood. So the well-coordinated team of 4 hit the road again. This time, the final destination was Jeju Island. I took the chance to ask the chat whether flying or taking a boat to Jeju Island would be better. We'd been driving a while when we noticed the ground was full of craters, and there were ruins of things that had been destroyed everywhere. Before long, our vehicle crossed a boundary point, and the system notified me of a newly unlocked skill. First, long-term skills and temporary skills were now split into 2 separate panels. Only 3 skills could be kept. Any skills beyond that limit would require deleting existing ones. Second was this microphone skill, which lets you request a specific mission from viewers. Eat a meal, reward 100 donations. I threw that out there without missing a beat. That condition got absolutely roasted by the chat. Once the countdown in the air hit 0, the microphone icon disappeared. That's when it clicked. It's an offer system. Someone in the chat has to accept my proposal before it becomes an actual mission. Alright then. Offer: eat a meal. Ko Cheon-su is invincible. This absurd mission apparently required a full 1 million donations. On top of that, if an invalid offer was set more than 3 times, I wouldn't be able to take any personal missions for the rest of the day. I still wanted to keep experimenting, but a roadblock appeared and cut off our path. We spotted signs of people nearby and immediately got out to investigate. The river was roaring past, the water level extremely high. The obstacle ahead was impossible to drive through, so we decided to walk across the bridge. The trouble was, halfway across, black smoke appeared ahead. My unease kept growing, and sure enough, an explosion rang out moments later. The bridge ahead shook and began to crumble from the blast, and the section behind us was also collapsing, closing in fast. We were finished. We ran toward the explosion with everything we had. Offer: run through the flames ahead. Reward: double movement speed. The moment I put up the offer, I found this seemingly small request was priced at 100 donations. That made my gut sink even more. No one in the chat took the mission. Then the explosion hit again. This time I was blown clean off the bridge. Kim Ha-ryung reached out desperately trying to grab me, but it was no use. I plunged into the water. Completely blinded, I moved my arms on pure instinct alone. The raging current flung wave after wave, pushing me further and further away. I wasn't a strong swimmer, but following the chat's instructions, I pushed as hard as I could toward the right. I don't know how much time passed before my senses began to return. I opened my eyes to find I had washed up by the roadside. Thank you, everyone. But I had no idea how far the water had carried me, or where my companions were. Only Ha-ryung's bag was there. Everyone, I'm in a dire situation right now. As you can see, I've lost my companions. It looks like they were swept away to different places as well. I genuinely need some comfort right now. If you're willing to support Ko Cheon-su, even a small donation would help. The chat immediately called me shameless. I put on a completely serious face. I only said this after losing everything I had in hand. I'm not joking. Things are critical, everyone. I, Ko Cheon-su, will find my companions again very soon. Just then, the chat reminded me that to cross the river I'd need a raft. I was just about to get moving when a rumbling sound caught my attention. Turned out to be a few soldiers on a small motorboat. Are these the bastards from the 705 division? Suddenly, they caught some movement and went on high alert. Who's there? Never mind, it's just a dog. I thought it was that person again. The moment they let their guard down, a sturdy vine came shooting straight at them. It caught them completely off guard and skewered one of the soldiers clean through. I looked closely and even I was startled. What on earth is that thing? It was a zombie with the body of a tree spirit, like some kind of hybrid creature. The chat explained it was a tree spirit zombie. What happens when a tree spirit consumes too many zombies? Watching his companion get killed by the tree spirit, the other soldier opened up with frantic gunfire and still couldn't save himself. The tree spirit's solid branches pierced straight through his heart. The next second he was flung into the air. It looked like the monster was absorbing their body fluids. I broke into a cold sweat. This thing's combat power is absolutely insane. Hybrid monsters are showing up now. This is getting out of hand. The last soldier tried to escape by boat, but the motorboat had been damaged and wouldn't start. Watching the vines closing in on him, he covered his face in terror. But I stepped in and blocked the strike. I've already figured you out. I told the tree spirit zombie. These clueless soldiers were just your first prey. The tree spirit zombie lunged toward me, then suddenly twisted and fell off the bridge. Trees that have never been pruned aren't well suited to floating in water, it would sink before long. I then turned my gun on the last remaining soldier. If you don't want to die, swim over here. A little while later, I had him tied up and tried to get some information out of him, but he wouldn't say a single word. With no choice, I slowly raised my gun and walked toward him. What exactly is the 7.5 division? Someone like you. Early 20s, not much to look at. Classic case of joining the military to escape school and society. No name tag, and those eyes are way too sharp. Stop staring at me. Poke. The soldier I jabbed in the eye screamed at me that I was out of my mind. The next second I fixed him with a dangerous look. This madman has a question. Why did you blow up the bridge? He still gritted his teeth and said nothing. I shot him straight in the thigh, then one in the foot. Wait, he screamed. Now can you talk? Use a broadcast to gather people and then block the bridge. What's the point? You're starting to crack. It's the 7.5 division, alright? I know that part. Explain it. What are you gathering people together for? Since you've blown up the bridges, that means you've already gathered enough people, right? So you're not planning to take any more. Am I right? The end. Now answer me. Hearing the password, the soldier in front of me was completely stunned. What else would it be? Obviously it's the password. I know it because I was planning to join. The soldier was floored. How is that possible? Are you also one of the priority summons? Seeing that he believed me, I explained I had originally been invited to work with the higher-ups, but unfortunately they went back on their word and blew up the bridge. He yelled, "But what you're doing only makes things more complicated. What was I supposed to do? How do you think I got selected in the first place?" Combat specialist, of course. My body is built for fighting. If I'm not treated properly, this is how I vent my frustration. The soldier actually seemed to understand. Seeing my bluff was working, I pushed further. As you can see, I'm an expert in field combat, and I can also tend to the wounded. Now it's your call. Just tell me what you know and we're done. The 7.5 Division is a rescue organization, a special unit mobilized under a national state of emergency. The primary mission is to gather the right people and restore a collapsed society. My jaw nearly dropped. You're saying all of this like it's so noble, but something still feels off. It's nothing. A bug just flew into my mouth. Keep going. Your goal is to go from Daejeon to Jeju Island, right? Word is it's already safe there. Cheongju Airport, that's where we're heading. That was a destination I had completely not anticipated, but there was no time to sit with the shock. This soldier looked like he was about to die. Let me go. No more boats are coming. You need to build a raft fast. Even so, I didn't rush. One last question. You blew up the bridge because you don't need any more people, right? That's correct. They only need certain types of people. Gathering too many becomes a management problem. Management? I smiled darkly. You're kidding me. Limiting the headcount to keep things controllable. That logic is almost reasonable, but was blowing up the bridge really something you can say you did nothing wrong? The way I see it, you're not trying to restore society, you're trying to replace it. The soldier got worked up. You think we're a rebel faction? We're giving everything for this country. I don't know what your actual motive is, but I have the intel I came for. Either way, you were the ones who broke your word and played us first. I was just about to finish him off when a zombie appeared, so I opened the door instead. That was our revenge, as a group. After handling things here, I prepared to cross the river, but there could be tree spirit zombies in that water, so I opened the in-game shop to see what was available. First up, a thick rope requiring a few donations, and a swimming ring for 2 donations, which the chat immediately and unanimously approved. At the moment, the shop only carried 2 items, with updates promised at irregular intervals. I put on a concerned look. What a shame. I still haven't paid back only one's loan, and now I need more equipment. Shouldn't this stuff be free? A few generous viewers were moved by my performance and threw in some donations. The chat then let something slip. Someone mentioned die-hard fans. I filed that away for later. The road ahead was long and I still owed 9 donations. Then, to make things worse, that tree spirit zombie resurfaced. It launched itself out of the water in a single leap. Moving terrifyingly fast, it was almost on top of me. I had no choice but to break into a full sprint. Once I'd put some distance between us, I bolted into a high-rise building. Good. This thing couldn't find me. With a plan already forming, I started dashing between buildings. Parkour that only elite athletes would dare attempt felt like nothing to a body like mine, though I still managed to trip and faceplant within 3 seconds of looking cool, but I jogged my way to the top of a broken-down truck. I remembered a tree spirit was near here. I immediately grabbed a can and smashed it onto the ground below. The sharp-sensed tree spirit zombie instantly homed in on the direction, but what was waiting for it when it got close would be the python-like vines of the tree spirit. Go on then, tear each other apart starting now. Once I had that set up, I got out of there fast. I needed to use the time they spent fighting each other to find a way across the river. Besides, those vines didn't look sturdy enough. They probably couldn't beat the tree spirit zombie. The water level was already lower than before, and the current had slowed. The chat was screaming at me to just jump in already. I looked back. The tree spirit zombie had caught up. Quick, everyone, I need 11 donations. Even as a weak swimmer, I could tell the surface looked calm, but the current was fierce. The chat then issued a group mission, swim 2/3 of the way across, and I'd get the 11 donations. With my heart set desperately on that swimming ring, no matter how hard it got, I had to keep going. That disgusting tree spirit zombie actually jumped in after me. It seemed to want to grab me from underwater, and I finally, through sheer stubborn effort, made it 2/3 of the way across. The moment the donations came in, I hit purchase immediately. Just barely clutching my hard-won swimming ring, I nearly got my foot grabbed by that revolting tree spirit zombie. Floating on the ring, I could only drift with the current, slowing down in the process. I looked back. That disgusting zombie had already figured out how to move with the current and was closing in. Only one move left in that situation. The swimming ring technique, the bobsled form, the posture for riding the current to achieve maximum speed. I let the current carry me straight into a massive field of wreckage. One wrong move would mean slamming into debris, and the bridge was still collapsing overhead. Fortunately, I had a protagonist luck. I made it through completely unscathed. And the freak monster that had been hunting me was crushed flat by a collapsing section of bridge. With the enemy gone, I drifted limply toward the shore. A surprise message from the chat nearly made me jump. I looked up. It was a small dog. "Hey, come here, pull me in, pull me in." Being man's best friend, the dog actually swam toward me. I was so touched I'd already picked out a name. Blackie, give the ring a push for me. But being a dog that had no idea who I was, it just circled me a few times and swam off to the side. Well, guess I was on my own. Blackie swam nearby though, stopping and starting as if showing me the way. After surviving everything I'd been through, I finally reached the shore. Blackie stuck out its tongue happily, as if asking for a reward. It looked absolutely starving, so I opened a can and fed it. The next destination was Daejeon Integrated Transit Terminal. After a while, a number 2 bus came rolling down the deserted street. The driver was an elderly man with white hair. "Hey, get on. If you want to live, get on the bus now," because behind us was a pack of wolves with blood-red eyes. I got on with Blackie, then opened the rear window to deal with the one still chasing us. First I yelled, "I'm right here, you mangy mutts!" Then I hurled a can at one of the wolves. My throwing strength was now far beyond anything normal. The running wolf went flying on impact. The leader of the pack had a massive build and a scar, clearly the alpha. I immediately grabbed a can and launched it at its legs, watching the alpha wolf stumble and roll. The whole pack immediately stopped giving chase. Well, that was terrifying. I hope we can leave it at that. The driver introduced himself. "I'm the number 2 bus driver, Park Chang-jik. Where did you come from?" I explained I had come here by crossing the river. The driver blinked. "Cross the river? That bridge looked like it collapsed from where I was." "That's right, so I swam across." "And what about you, sir? Where did you come from?" "A bus wouldn't be running normally in a situation like this. It seems like you went somewhere before coming here." The old man explained simply that he had met with soldiers at the Daejeon Transit Terminal and come back from there. The soldiers were using buses to transport civilians in groups. I was hoping to bring at least one more person to the terminal before the soldiers leave. I've lived most of my life on this route. I've carried people going home for the holidays and passengers with all kinds of stories. This is just what I'm here to do. The chat was full of praise at that. A truly selfless spirit. The kind of genuine kindness you'd never see in Cheon-su. Then the driver mentioned that this detour would take about 15 minutes. Hearing there was time to spare, I asked the chat about the diehard fans. If there were diehard fans, it meant there was a system similar to ones I already knew about. The chat said that was giving too much away and blamed Over the Limit for being reckless. It wasn't reckless at all. It was love. I did it out of love. Over the limit, please don't take any offense. After smoothing things over with my top donor, I went back to asking about the diehard fans. If diehard fans were a thing, then there had to be a moderator. Something any proper broadcast absolutely needs. The chat erupted into chaos, saying there was absolutely no way I could know about this yet. I smiled to myself. Is the chat scared? Are you afraid of the power Ko Cheon-su holds? Come on, what are you also worried about? Are you afraid of what I might do to you? Before I could finish, the bus suddenly jolted violently and I face-planted. Wolves appeared again on the left. That lunge nearly shattered the window. 3 of them in total. Looked like they'd been chasing from behind. No sign of the alpha. After I'd knocked down their alpha just now, they had stopped immediately. Then a sharp piercing howl split my eardrums. I immediately understood. This was an ambush. Driver, we need to get out of this area right now. There are far more of these wolves than I thought. We have to leave immediately. No more detours. Watching the fierce wolves prepare to cut the vehicle off head-on. The driver spun the wheel sharply. The momentum knocked several of the blocking wolves flying, but 6 wolves were now in pursuit. They charged without hesitation, battering the windows with their powerful bodies. If this keeps up, they'll break through, in a tight space. If they all rush in at once, we won't be able to handle it. With that in mind, I shouted at the driver to open the rear door. The chat thought I'd lost my mind. They figured I was about to throw Blackie out. The moment one wolf gets in, close the door immediately. Come on then, let's settle this once and for all. I drew the axe and went straight to work on the wolves, but the cramped moving vehicle meant the recoil kept knocking me off balance. Even so, nothing could affect my overwhelming advantage. After finishing off one wolf, I immediately had the driver open the door again. This time 2 wolves burst in at once. Facing the chat's doubts, I backhanded one wolf straight out the door. The other snapped its jaws toward me. The tight space instantly became total chaos. After an intense struggle, the recoil sent me stumbling backward out too. Just as I was about to end the fight in one go, the axe got jammed on a handrail exactly the wrong moment. Get out of here! I drove my foot into the wolf's face. The other wolf tried to jump in to help, but Blackie bit it clean in the leg. You ride the bus for free, and you're going after the passengers. Before long, I'd cut both wolves down. After all that, I collapsed flat on the floor. The driver was shocked. Are you alright? That was remarkable. How are you so good at fighting? Because I'm a trained individual. After catching my breath, I looked down at Blackie. Come for a walk with me. The next second, the 2 of us stepped off the bus and faced the remaining 3 wolves directly. Following the plan we'd agreed on beforehand, the driver hit the horn after 5 seconds. The piercing sound momentarily threw the wolves off. Where do you think you're looking, dumb dogs? Before long, we'd wrapped up the fight without a scratch, and Blackie's bite force earned my full respect. I was starting to wonder if Blackie was some kind of powerful piece of equipment in its own right. The bus had blown a tire in all the chaos and couldn't go any further. I called out to the driver and prepared to walk him the rest of the way. We need to pick up the pace. We never saw the Wolf Alpha, which means there's a much bigger pack still out there, but I'll only walk with you until we're within sight of the soldiers. At the Daejeon Integrated Transit Terminal, the civilians were in chaos while the police looked increasingly impatient. A few officers were murmuring about how much longer they had to wait. Word was the needed people had already been selected. I wonder if the ones who weren't selected even know what's in store for them. These human shields just need to clear the way to Cheongju Airport. That's all they're good for. Suddenly an urgent cry for help put the officers on edge. Please help. There are monsters behind me. A handful of small wolves were no match for the firepower and were quickly eliminated. Did you come here on your own? A few officers asked Park Chang-jik. The lead officer was first to notice something off. He was being chased by things that agile? Never mind. His uniform looks like a bus driver's. He probably just stayed hidden somewhere until now. Meanwhile, I had made it to where all the buses were parked. With the gunfire stopped, I had no way of knowing whether Park Chang-jik was safe. I pushed those thoughts aside and focused on finding a solid vehicle to trail behind the military convoy. Just then I found the person managing the keys. This was the person Park Chang-jik had mentioned, someone working in the East Hall office of the transit terminal. I approached and greeted them. Please don't be alarmed, I just arrived here. The man's expression was flat. If you're leaving with the soldiers, head that way, they're about to depart. Are you collecting bus keys? I kept up the conversation. Can't you tell just by looking? I'm busy. Don't bother me. Are you staying behind to wait for the person who was supposed to bring you those keys, sir? The man looked slightly surprised. How do you know about that? My friend handed the keys to me but never came back. Once I'd broken the ice, I immediately mentioned that I also needed a key. Here, this is the key for that vehicle over there. Just press the button and you'll find the car, thank you. I hope good things come to good people. And then came the truly jaw-dropping revelation. This car was tiny. Well, at least it came with a navigation system. That's when I spotted the shop had updated and my eyes lit up. Furious gas pedal booster cap allows the vehicle to travel at 300 kilometers per hour for 7 minutes. The downside was that after using this item, if the car was pushed to its top speed, its remaining drive life would drop to 60 minutes. This skill was incredibly powerful and only cost 2 donations, but I wasn't about to be intimidated by a shop item. I bought it without a second thought. The next second, an iron cap came flying straight into my face. After fitting the booster cap, I set off on my own. Before leaving, I told the man I hoped he'd get to see his friend again soon, and if anyone comes looking for Ko Cheon-su, tell them Ko Cheon-su has already headed to Jeju Island. The convoy set off in a long, imposing line. The passengers on the leading bus were uneasy. They were out ahead of the soldiers, but they trusted the soldiers wouldn't abandon them. Even so, they asked the driver whether to slow down a little. The driver was trembling but kept his composure. Please don't worry. I'm sure the soldiers have a plan for being at the back. But the sudden appearance of monsters sent the entire vehicle into a panic. The soldiers immediately opened fire. It had some effect on those ugly creatures, but there seemed to be more than one of them. The passengers demanded the driver stop the bus. Without warning, he suddenly swerved to the side, and in an instant that bus drew the attention of every single monster. The hideous creature pierced straight through the vehicle and set off a massive explosion. Even I hadn't expected the explosion to happen that fast. The piercing screams cut through my ears. The chat called me out for being cold-blooded. One comment in particular caught my eye. Heartless orphan piece of garbage. Not only that, but he kept heaping abuse on me. What are you doing? Don't give me that look. Just as he kept up his personal attacks, the regular viewers in the chat started arguing back at him. My face twisted with irritation. Don't we have a moderator? How do we get one set up? The chat said for a moderator to appear. At least the player and a diehard fan both had to agree. Are you serious? A diehard fan has a say in this too? So I tested the waters. Where are you? Over the limit. Diehard fan? What are you going to do right now? The chat started buzzing, because apparently only someone who donated 30% of their total assets in one go would become a diehard fan. That surprised me, but that awful troll was still relentlessly pushing my buttons. Then suddenly, Over the Limit came through with 40 donations. The sheer generosity brought tears to my eyes. Thank you so much, truly. As repayment, I'll grant you one wish. Oh right, we need to select a moderator immediately. Will you help me? So, Over the Limit asked if I had anyone in mind, and the chat was full of people raising their hands to volunteer. I handed the decision to my top donor. Over the Limit, I trust you. Please go ahead and recommend a moderator. Over the Limit recommended Howling Psycho Patient. The chat called him Licky. The chat's reaction made me break into a cold sweat, but my donor assured me he was a very obedient viewer, so I agreed to the recommendation. The moment Licky became moderator, that one troll who'd been mouthing off got thrown out hard. I deeply approved of his swift and decisive action. If anyone crosses the line again, I'll be counting on you. Thanks to everyone, I'm feeling recharged. Now let's go do what we came to do. Meanwhile, the military had noticed my presence. Although the commander ordered them to ignore me, they were still bothered. Deal with him once we get to Cheongju Airport. What's the situation with the number 2 bus? Another officer explained that bus number 1 had been swarmed by monsters and abandoned. They'd just make do with numbers 2 and 3. Just then, one of the buses suddenly started shaking violently. Then the entire vehicle toppled over. Clinging to the underside was a revolting multi-limbed, multi-eyed creature. The officers barely had time to ask what was happening before the crowd erupted into screams. Seeing the chaos up ahead, I guess they had run into a monster that appeared out of nowhere. That thought alone made me press down on the gas a little harder. Just then over the limit warned me that what they'd encountered was a grip beast. I needed to press down on the gas even more. A grip beast is a monster that latches onto the underside of a vehicle and stops it from moving. Any drop in speed could trigger an explosion. My face went pale. Just how much gas do I need to give it? The chat said something this size would require accelerating past 200 kilometers per hour. Impossible. How could this little toy car handle that kind of speed? Wait. I suddenly remembered the pedal cap had been reinforced. Then here we go, I yelled and floored it. Revolting grip beasts kept surging up in front of the vehicle, and several cars had already flipped over, to the stunned eyes of the soldiers. A tiny little car came tearing up behind them at shocking speed. It looked like a collision with the military vehicles was completely unavoidable. Even Blackie's expression became a meme. But I wasn't fazed at all. I kept accelerating. The vehicle hit 280 kilometers per hour, though I knew that still wasn't the pedal's limit. Time to overtake. Under my acceleration, the grip beast's tentacles couldn't keep up. I used nothing but sheer driving skill to leave the military vehicles in the dust, and at the same time an explosion boomed behind us. Haha, how about that everyone? Who's in first place now? Still, even though we'd escaped for the moment, the real danger probably wasn't here. These soldiers had set the buses up as bait but never intended to sacrifice all of them, which meant something far worse had to be waiting up ahead. As the vehicle gradually slowed, the system informed me this car could only travel for another 60 minutes. 60 minutes to reach the airport was more than enough, so I pulled over to the side to rest a little and wait for the military convoy that had been left behind. If the soldiers made it here too, that meant they'd also shaken off the grip beasts. I wondered how many had survived. Looking ahead carefully, only about 6 buses remained. Those things were terrifying. The scene shifted to a riverside in another city. A soaking wet Min Cheol dragged himself onto the shore. Is everyone still alive? Jin Soo-hyung. No, he'll have made it. Nuna. He spotted Kim Ha-ryung sitting listlessly nearby. Nuna, you're alive. But there's a bench right there. Why are you sitting on a rock? Is everyone alright? Kim Ha-ryung's expression was blank. I don't know. Did something happen? Now is not the time to be losing heart. If everyone's alive, tell me. Telling you won't change anything. Kim Ha-ryung looked even more defeated. Min Cheol, a cheerful voice rang out. Haha, seriously. I thought you were dead. Seo-yeon Nuna, you're alive too. By the way, where's that guy? Where's Cheon-su-hyung? Ko Cheon-su is... Jang Seo-yeon hesitated. He's still alive, but it looks like he left this place. I didn't see it myself. It's what Ha-ryung said she spotted from a distance. It turned out that on that day, Kim Ha-ryung had searched everywhere for any trace of me, and when she finally spotted me in the distance, she saw me jumping hurriedly onto a bus and getting out of there. In that moment, her world felt like it had been struck by lightning. What do we do now? Min Cheol felt a little lost. Our group has always operated with Cheon-su-hyung at the center. He searched his memory. Where would Cheon-su-hyung go? Daejeon Integrated Transit Terminal. Cheon-su-hyung will definitely go there as planned. Jang Seo-yeon hesitated at that. The people at the transit terminal aren't ordinary soldiers. Honestly, without Ko Cheon-su, I don't know how we'd deal with them. Min Cheol pushed back encouragingly. We've made it this far. Even without Cheon-su-hyung, there's no reason to change our goal. I'm scared too, but at least Hyung and all of us are still alive. We'll see each other again soon, I know it. So Seo-yeon got ready to move out. Hey, we're going. Come get changed and let's go. Don't you want to go find Ko Cheon-su too? At those words, Kim Ha-ryung slowly made her way over. I'm going. At the thought of possibly seeing him again, a gentle smile spread across Kim Ha-ryung's face. Meanwhile, traffic ahead of the military convoy had completely broken down. The one-eyed officer was yelling, just connect the buses together and clear the ones on the side. That'll do it. And behind them, I was extremely uneasy, because the way things were going, my car's time limit was running out. If I drove up to them recklessly, I'd probably take a bullet and die on the spot. Plenty of eyes were on me right now. Showing up here in a panic and being completely powerless was honestly driving me insane. Just then I suddenly caught a glimpse of something terrifying passing overhead. Holy, everyone, what was that just now? The chat suggested it might be something like a big head. Before the words were out, a massive hand burst from the ground. Can a big head's hand really be that big? Titan body. It's the adult form of the big head. That hit me like ice water. The reason they gathered those buses and brought them all here, was it to use them as feed for that monster while the plane prepared for takeoff? In the eyes of the Titan body, the running vehicles were nothing but toys. Even more shocking, the buses had stopped and let the passengers flee on foot. Amid the screaming and cries for help, refugees were plucked up like snacks, then placed in its mouth and crushed to pieces. The sight made every hair on my body stand on end. It also brought back the first NPC I ever met, that Chinese restaurant cook. He was the one who died inside the mouth of a big head. It was over the limit, snapping me back to focus, that pulled me out of my daze. It looked like the soldiers had abandoned the buses and were making a run for it. The distance was growing, but I could still catch them. I immediately drove off to chase those people down. But then yet another bus was left behind. A crowd of passengers cried and begged and were still left in the dust. Then they spotted me and grabbed on like a lifeline. Let us on, please. With no other choice, I pressed the gas and left them behind. Having lost too much time at the intersection, the car only had 10 minutes of life left. The only thing I could do now was reach the airport first, then get new intel after crossing the boundary point up ahead. My shop hadn't been updated at all. Best to sneak into the airport and figure things out from there. There was no telling what variables would pop up at the airport. The soldiers knew about the monsters and had made what seemed like thorough preparations. But judging by how they failed to handle the grip beasts, they clearly hadn't known in advance. That left only one answer. Someone already at Cheongju Airport had relayed information using a long-range communication device. Before long, I snuck into the airport terminal building with Blackie. "Survivor!" a soldier called out to me at the top of his voice. "Are you a survivor? Are you the one who sent the distress signal?" I was completely taken aback and noticed these were the National Air Force, not the 7.5 Division. "There's no time. Those monsters didn't follow you here, did they? We're out of ammunition. Please hurry up." Major Chen finished speaking and grabbed me, handing me off to the soldier behind him. "This is a survivor who just arrived. Take him with you. You can see the boarding gate over there. Go in and sit down immediately. No time to explain now, I'll fill you in later. Bringing that animal along is fine, just get in quickly." Seeing the soldier about to leave, I quickly warned him. The soldiers coming in after me were an extremely dangerous group. I had seen them on the road to the airport using civilians as bait to deal with the monsters. They were not an ordinary unit. Please inform the relevant people. If you're still going to take them on board, please stay on guard. Inside the aircraft, it felt like a loud, chaotic bomb shelter. It looked like there were other people who'd been rescued. Hearing that boarding was imminent, I hurried to find a seat with Blackie. The plane took off without any announcement. The passengers gasped at the monsters swarming below. Seeing the plane take off, I felt a small measure of relief. It was sudden, but things weren't bad for now. No, wait. In this game, we couldn't trust any peace or good luck we stumbled into before it was over. That's when I sensed something was wrong. Why is the plane turning back? To get to Jeju Island, shouldn't we be heading south? I immediately got to my feet to find a flight attendant and get an answer. "Excuse me, where is this plane going?" The flight attendant looked slightly flustered. "Did no one tell you where you were flying to?" "The destination is Jeju Island. Please sit down, standing is dangerous." But I ignored her and knocked on the cockpit door. "Captain, why would I go back to my seat? Do you even know where this plane is headed? Enough, let go of me right now. Please go ask the captain. If we're really headed to Jeju Island, why is the plane turning around?" Both soldiers looked like they'd been struck by lightning. "What do you mean by that?" But before anyone could process the shock, the plane jolted violently. In that moment, I caught a glimpse of a monster's silhouette. "Everyone, you must have a read on the situation, right?" I caught a partial look. Then the captain spoke over the intercom. "Due to an unidentified monster currently pursuing the aircraft, all passengers please remain in your seats." Suddenly, the wings I glimpsed earlier appeared outside the window again. A massive red-eyed winged insect was hurling itself at the plane. However, due to the size difference, it wasn't causing any real damage to the aircraft. Over the Limit encouraged everyone to give me lots of donations if I made it through this. I felt my heart sink at those words. What he said was ice cold. Moderator Licky warned me the plane might go down. That sent a chill through me. A parachute. Does this plane have parachutes? When the answer came back no, I completely fell apart. So we're dead then? Fortunately, the noise outside the windows had gone quiet. It seemed those things died the moment they collided with the plane. Maybe I was overreacting a little. I actually feel a lot better right now. That said, I still couldn't help going back to the flight attendant. "Please ask the captain where this plane is going. I really need to know." The flight attendant reluctantly picked up the phone and made a call. The captain says it's not convenient to answer right now. Earlier there were many monsters in the southern skies. Other planes that departed ahead of us transmitted a message through their communications equipment before going down. So has the captain decided on a destination? She looked a little evasive. "We'll be heading to the nearest available airport. I don't know more than that." Seeing her give me vague half answers, I was ready to go ask the captain myself. But she held up her hand to stop me. "Please understand that what I just told you was something I said off the cuff. Whatever decision the captain has made, I won't be sharing it with passengers. It would only cause unnecessary panic. I'm only telling you this because your instincts are sharp. Please stop asking." Seeing that she was just as uneasy as me, I decided not to make things harder for her. Then at least confirm there's a place to land safely. Give me that much of a straight answer. Her eyes betrayed her anxiety. "That much I can absolutely guarantee. Please don't worry." With that, I grabbed a cup of water and walked away. "Everyone, do you remember what the moderator said the mission was just now?" Her saying she could guarantee a safe landing actually worried me more. They clearly could have made a slight course correction and headed south, but gave up on that route entirely. There's definitely no way they have control of the direction at all. From the flight attendant's attitude just now, the captain is obviously choosing a route at random. At that point, Licky said he wanted to stake a mission on it. A viewer questioned it and got immediately force removed from the stream. I was alarmed, worried about upsetting the viewers. You can't just force people out like that. Over the Limit explained he had only hidden them, not banned them. It took me a moment to catch up. Wait, so that troll who was laying into me is still in the chat right now? Oh, come on, moderator. What are you doing? Why haven't you kicked him out? The next second, the moderator did exactly as I said. Moderator, please use appropriate judgment going forward. Seriously. And please restore the viewer who was just hidden. Suddenly, several viewers set up a joint reward mission. Survive a crash landing. Reward 15 donations. I put on an arrogant expression. "Everyone, could you raise the stakes a little more?" Just then, Blackie beside me seemed a little unsettled. "What's going on?" Before long, the system notified me that I had crossed a boundary point. I felt it in my whole body and immediately opened the intelligence window to check the latest update. Intel 1. The destination of the plane you are currently on is Pohang Airport. Intel 2. The The flight routes heading south are currently blocked by monsters, so the destination was Pohang Airport. The captain had already made a decision. More important than their secrecy was the fact that right next to Pohang Airport was a port. Things were going to get very complicated from here. If there's a port, 9 times out of 10 they want to use the sea route. Using Korea as a reference, every place I'd been through so far was on the western side. Judging by the fact that the flight went to Gunsan Airport, which had relatively little difference, the western half of the Korean peninsula was very likely already overrun by monsters. With that in mind, I started looking for something important. Meanwhile, back at Daejeon Integrated Transit Terminal, Min Cheol went up to the man and asked if he worked there. Have you seen someone named Ko Cheon-su? He's tall with sharp eyes, a few years older than me. Ko Cheon-su, he came through. He said to pass along a message if anyone came looking for him. Min Cheol was overcome with excitement. Really? Hyung actually came here? Where did he go? What did he say? Jang Seo-yeon, catching up from behind, immediately pinned the man to the ground. What do you think you're doing to our Min Cheol? Kim Ha-ryung drew her knife. For violent offenders, punishment is more appropriate than treatment, right? Wait, this man hasn't done anything. He said he met Cheon Su-hyung. I was just about to ask him more. These are my companions. I'm so sorry you had to go through this suddenly. The man was magnanimous and understanding. It's fine. The world has become a harsh place. Your companion didn't say much in particular, just that he'd already headed to Jeju Island, and that was it. Ha-ryung was beaming. Let's go quickly. Mr. Cheon-su is waiting for us. Jang Seo-yeon looked troubled. He just said he's going to Jeju Island. What exactly are we supposed to do with that? He didn't even say how to get there. Min Cheol worked it out. I think I know. Hyung must have gone with the soldiers. Excuse me, do you know where the soldiers went? The man thought for a moment. Cheongju Airport. But you're already too late. The soldiers left in a huge hurry. They should have taken off long ago. Min Cheol suddenly thought of one more place he could be sure about. Sir, what about Daejeon Station? Back on the plane, I was holding a borrowed map and studying potential landing spots. If it's an emergency landing, the location is going to be really awkward. Just then I received some donations from the viewers. At this point I had 43 donations on hand. I immediately started rummaging through the overhead compartments, which got the flight attendant rushing over to stop me. I'm looking for something. I'll sit down once I find it. I'll only open one compartment at a time and close it after. Is that alright? The flight attendant had nothing to say to that, so I went and opened them one by one in a frantic search, working all the way to the last cabin. There it is, my little stuffed bear. With this many donations, there was no way there wasn't a supply crate, and sure enough, it started swaying left and right and leading the way. It brought me to a crate marked with a shield. But what followed was genuinely shocking. 10 whole donations, and all I got out of it was a wingsuit. You can't be serious, everyone. This has to be more than just a wingsuit. There must be other functions. I forced myself to stay calm. The flashlight and axe both looked ordinary, but had hidden functions, so this probably wasn't just a plain piece of fabric either. Just as I put the suit on and was about to test it, a quiet voice came from behind. It startled me so badly I fell right to the floor. The child in front of me quickly apologized. I didn't mean to scare you. Here, let me help you up. I did a light spring and got back on my feet. For a man like me, I don't need hands to stand up. That one move earned me the kid's complete admiration. Are you going to use that to get off the plane? The kid asked. What about it? I was wondering if you could take me off the plane with you. I turned him down straight. If it were a parachute maybe, but I can't take you along with a wingsuit. Go back to your seat. If you're bored, you can sit nearby. Who did you get on the plane with? Your family. The kid's face fell at that. No, just me. My family was taken by the monsters. Then how did you get here, to board the plane? Did you run into soldiers? Yes. The soldier uncle saved me. I then asked if he'd heard anything like the Air Force contacting other military units. I'm not really sure about that, but I did see a high-ranking uncle making contact with someone they called a general. That gave me something to work with. A general-level command meant strategic-level forces above the division level. So even if the military hadn't kept its full strength, the chain of command wasn't broken. Also, from Major Chen's attitude, running into the 7.5 division hadn't been part of the plan, and the Air Force Command's point of contact was a general. At this point, the general was likely not the top commander of the 7.5 division. The plane is about to explode. I closed my eyes to rest for a bit. Then I told Blackie to crawl under the seat and rest. If I couldn't bring Blackie along, I'd have to leave it, and that would be what's best for it. That thought made my mood drop a little more. Hyung, a voice woke me. I was so startled I thought it was Min Cheol calling me. The plane started shaking a little. I pressed the kid's head down. He realized something was wrong too, and a thunderous boom rang out. Hyung, save me. Are we crashing? As the inner wall of the plane began to bulge outward, powerful airflow tore a gaping hole through the fuselage. Not good. We're about to get sucked out. And then to make things even worse, Blackie seemed to have vanished. I frantically asked the chat. Everyone, where did Blackie go? There's no way it just ran out on its own. What on earth is going on? No time to hesitate. The chat was urging me to jump. The captain came on to announce the plane was going down. With no place to land, they would attempt to ditch in a reservoir. With things as they were, I warned the kid that if he survived the crash, watch out for smoke from fires. If there's no water, wet your sleeve with saliva and move low to the ground. With that said, I seized the moment when the air pressure dropped and leapt out. The enormous pressure made me feel like my ears were splitting open. Even with the wingsuit deployed, the airflow was distorting my face. My body couldn't spread open at all. Everyone, please say something quickly, I screamed. Only Over the Limit responded, Cheon-su, try flipping your wrists backward. The wingsuit worth 10 donations appeared to have an air deceleration function. As I pressed the button on my wrist, the flow of air seemed to slow considerably. Over the Limit really was my guy. Still, apart from him, I needed more fans. No time to think about that now. I spotted my chance and prepared to leap onto the back of a monster ahead. I kept adjusting my falling posture mid-air, then surged forward and grabbed tightly onto the monster's back. The viewers went absolutely wild at that, throwing me 3 donations. My hand was a bit hurt, but my total balance was now up to 39 donations. The one I'm holding onto right now should die on impact when it hits the plane. The only thing I need is for this thing not to get hurt before we land. Thinking that, I glanced over at the plane, and there was the kid, standing right at the edge of the open fuselage. "Hey! What are you doing? Get back inside," I screamed. "Get back in there." But the kid seemed not to hear a single word and dropped straight off the plane. No cushioning whatsoever, his body fell like a stone, plummeting straight down. Watching this, my moderator set up a mission to rescue the little brat. Reward, 19 donations. Without hesitation, I jumped straight off the monster's back. By now I had figured out how to use the wingsuit, and the kid wasn't far below me. I opened my throat. "Brat, spread your body out." He completely ignored me, so I accelerated again and shot to his side. "Are you out of your mind, kid? Why would you jump from that height?" Even as I said it, I reached out and caught him cleanly. "Hey, kid, snap out of it right now, listen up. We're going to land on top of those things falling below us. Get ready to hold on tight. As long as you fall in a straight line, it's fine even if you miss and don't grab one. But you have to hold on yourself." The next second, I released him and grabbed onto a falling monster, sticking the landing with perfect balance. The kid, launched from my hands, also happened to fall in a straight line toward another monster, but he still couldn't seize the moment and ended up colliding with it, then went flying back toward me. "Hyung!" he cried out. Fortunately, in that critical moment, I caught him with one arm. "Finally got you. Come on, get closer to me." At the same time, the mission to rescue the little brat was completed. "Stop crying, brat. I told you exactly what to do. Why did you go and do something crazy and jump anyway? Are you trying to die?" Hearing him say something about a monster, I grabbed his face. "Pull yourself together. It's not over yet. Save the whining and the snot for later, understand? Just land on something and jump off before you hit the ground. You can manage that much, right?" After surviving everything thrown at us, we used the branches below to cushion our landing, and made it to the ground alive. Thank goodness. Solid ground really is the best. The plane we'd been on was now completely destroyed. Things looked grim. I felt a pang of sadness. Ugh, why did Blackie fall out? The chat advised me to find the body and give it a proper burial. Just then, the faint sound of small footsteps came from nearby. Blackie had survived completely unscathed. Even I was stunned. "Wow, Blackie, how did you make it out alive?" I looked it over carefully. Barely a scratch, no limp and full of energy. Finally, I noticed its teeth. "Wow. I was just wondering how you came out in one piece. You must have bitten onto a monster and ridden it down. Incredible. Truly worthy of being chosen by me. Right, and kid, what's your name?" The kid introduced himself as Park Jun, and so the two of us, plus one dog, set off together. The monsters flying overhead paid absolutely no attention to us walking down below. Small mercies. While I was still marveling at that, a multi-role military transport aircraft thundered past overhead. I couldn't help but feel deeply dissatisfied. That's the plane I should have been on from the start. No other planes in sight. I immediately decided to take the kid to the airport and see what was there. When we arrived at Pohang Airport, a series of booming crashes came from inside. Buildings collapsed one after another before our eyes, reduced to rubble in moments. I quickly searched for any other survivors. Sure enough, I found the Air Force. The major was surprised to see me. "So you made it down safely." I quickly explained that the area had just collapsed from the shaking. We needed to leave immediately. The major was startled and immediately ordered the corporal to get everyone out first. But a new problem arose at once. The car keys they needed were somewhere inside. They had been left behind by other soldiers who'd departed before them. Things had just gotten very complicated. The major then asked about the plane. I told him straight that it had gone down. I only survived because I got lucky and grabbed onto a slow-falling flying insect. The major was stunned. "Something like that is even possible? Are there any other survivors?" "I'm Ko Cheon-su. Feel free to use my name. Outside there's a kid and a dog besides me. Lucky, right?" I went on to talk with the major for a little longer. He had around 20 people with him. Some 7.5 division members had been allowed onto the plane earlier, but they appeared to have run into trouble and not made it here. I explained to him that the most urgent thing we needed to do was find the car keys inside. Everyone here had to be able to get out safely first. Once the situation was assessed, the keys were known to be buried somewhere in a section of rubble with a very narrow entrance. The colonel identified the youngest member of their unit, but even that person's body got stuck halfway and couldn't get through. "We need someone smaller." That thought sparked an idea. "He's the kid who survived the crash with me." "Major, you said the keys are in there, right? Please tell him the exact location so he can find them." After laying everything out, Park Jun was brimming with confidence, eager to prove himself. But watching this kid's earnest expression, I couldn't help but feel worried, though there were no signs the wreckage would collapse right now. "Blackie, you really don't have to go too. Blackie, you animal." The next second, a scream shot a bolt of fear through me. "Park Jun, answer me, what happened?" A soldier suggested something inside might be wrong. I immediately pushed forward and craned my neck to look. I was drenched in cold sweat. "Please, please be okay." The scream came again, throwing my heart into even more chaos. Then I saw it, a zombie, and Park Jun's legs. "Park Jun, get yourself out of there first!" Jun's shouts grew nearer, then farther, then nearer again. From the sound of it, he hadn't been caught yet. The next second, I watched Blackie lunge savagely at the zombie and sink its teeth in. Before long, Park Jun crawled out breathlessly and held out the keys. I rushed forward to meet him. "You okay?" I asked with my mouth, but my hands were already frantically checking him over. Once I confirmed there were no wounds, I turned my thoughts to Blackie. "Thank goodness, Blackie." I looked at it with pride, flipped it over completely to check for injuries. "Good, nothing wrong." "Well done, you. I thought something would go wrong. Didn't expect you to really be that brave," the major said with admiration. June grinned. "I'm just glad I could help." Seeing that, I suggested there was no reason to wait any longer. "Let's do this." So we immediately got into the vehicles and prepared to leave the airport. I noticed Park Jun chatting and laughing with the soldiers he'd been living with, and let him ride in the same vehicle as those soldiers. The very moment we pulled our door shut, a thunderous roar shook the air again, and the entire airport crumbled into rubble. The vehicles tore forward through the collapsing debris. We were that close to dying, then a different kind of ominous tremor began rising from underground, like an earthquake but not quite. That egg-shaped thing kept climbing upward. It looked like the skull of a Titan body. The major immediately ordered everyone to follow, pushed straight through to the port. The port we were now heading to turned out to be Ingok Port. The soldiers who had gone ahead were already there, with a vessel ready large enough for all of us. The chat reminded me that the adult form of the Titan body only lived for a few hours, nothing to worry about. Soon after a rough ride, the main convoy pulled further and further ahead of us. A pit filled with debris blocked the road in front of us. The violent shaking made it impossible to stay in our seats. Then bad news came. The driver told us the vehicle was malfunctioning, with no telling how long it would hold. "Just push it as fast as you can." The good news was the Titan body was getting further and further away. That thought still left me grinding my teeth. Not a single vehicle I've ridden has ever gone smoothly. How can I be this unlucky?